Chapter 1. Mysterious Masked Naruto. It was 6 years ago that Naruto left the village to train on his own. Well, actually, not on his own, but with the Kyuubi. Not that anyone knew or knows that he can speak with the Kyuubi. Some don't even know that he has the Kyuubi inside of him. And even if they knew that the Kyuubi is inside of him, they would never expect that he and Kyuubi have become pretty good friends. They fight sometimes, of course, but let's leave that aside. Okay. Tongue sticking out. There was a reason that he left the village, of course. It was an event that happened 6 years ago. Not many people know about it. Actually, no one except for the third, or should I say Gigi, and the ones who attacked him, of course. But they died. The idiots. They should have known that he would survive from an attack like that, and that they wouldn't. He survived barely, though. He did lose something from himself back then. That's also one of the reasons he left the village 6 years ago. The attack was so bad that he had lost his eyes. Completely melted away. It was horrible and so painful. He then decided together with the Kyuubi that they would leave the village to train and get used to not being able to see. He told Gigi, of course. He said that the Kyuubi would train him for the next 6 years and that he would learn to handle being a ninja without his eyesight. Gigi asked if he could do something about it, so that Naruto wouldn't go away. But Naruto had just shook his head. No, he said, there's no way to heal it, cause my eyes are completely gone already. The third had just looked sad and had nodded. They decided to leave it a secret for now. He would come back in 6 years to take the Genin exam, and then stay in the village to become a ninja. Naruto would let him know when he would come back and would send him a letter. And Gigi would make sure that there wouldn't be any problems with taking the Genin exam and becoming a ninja. I'll miss you. Come back soon. Gigi had said sadly. Don't worry, Gigi, I'll be back. See you later, Gigi, had Naruto said as a 6-year-old boy to the third. The third had replied with a smile and had waved at him. See you later too, Naruto, the third thought while walking back. The third had brought him far away himself so that no ninjas would be able to find him. He did it himself so that only he would know about it. That would be for the best. And since Naruto was so young, no one would recognize him later on. If he was only a little bit older, they would have recognized him later because of his wild blonde hair. The other reason that he brought him so far away was because he couldn't walk without bumping into everything yet. The time passed by quickly, so it was already 6 years later. He was on his way to the village when Kyuubi started talking to him. That was pretty normal, though. It always went like that. Brat, walk faster. Why are you going so slow? Said Kyuubi. Well, just going slow, said Naruto. Crying face. Wow, I didn't notice that yet. No, seriously, answer the question. Fine. Geez, you're so impatient. No reason, really. I just feel like walking slowly. There's a much faster way, of course, but I was planning to enter the village the normal way. That's probably the best for now. Yeah, I get where you're going. You're suspicious enough already with that mask on. Kyuubi chuckled. Very funny, Kyuubi. But you're still right, though. Even though I'm 12 years old, someone with a mask is still suspicious. That's why I have this letter from Gigi. It will allow me to go in the village without trouble or being followed. He got the letter from Gigi a few weeks ago, just after he'd sent Gigi his letter when he would be coming home. In the letter stood his name and something official from the third so that he wouldn't have any trouble in the village. It was a few hours later when Naruto stood in front of the village. The two people who were watching everyone who went in and out of the village called him and said that he would have to show his papers. They found him look rather suspicious with that mask on. Naruto clothes were normal black ninja clothes, except for a few extra details. He had long black ninja pants and all the other normal black ninja clothes with bandages around his hands and wrists. The details were all linked to a special symbol in his clothes. Everywhere on his black ninja clothes were white scars drawn on. The white scars were on his pants, shoes, white scar cross, and go on and on. He had black gloves on with a white scar cross on the top and his fingertips showing. His mask was a normal black mask except for a long oblique white scar on the mask and no eye holes. But that no one was sure of because it was so black. So most of the people just assumed that there were eye holes in the mask while there actually weren't. He had wild blonde hair going in all directions. There was nothing covering his hair. Naruto showed his papers that the third had sent him, and they let him through. Now, let's see. Let's go to Gigi first. He mumbled and started walking to the Hokage Tower. He noticed that the ANBU were following him, so he stopped in front of the Hokage Tower and showed them his papers so that they let him through. He knocked at the door of Gigi's office and stepped in. The third looked surprised at first, but then recognized him from the picture Naruto had sent him. A pic with how he looks now. So with mask. The third told the ANBU that they could go so that he and Naruto could be alone. Naruto, welcome back, he said, happy, and smiled. Naruto smiled back at him and started telling about his adventures. They talked about how everything in the village went as well. Gigi said that everything was ready so that he could take the Genin exams tomorrow. He also told him that he had told the teachers about him as well. Naruto nodded and asked what they knew. Not much. Only your name and that you went training by yourself at age 6. Oh, and don't worry about the mask thing. It's not against the rules to wear a mask, the third said. Naruto nodded again and said goodbye. He walked a bit through the village so that he wouldn't get lost when he didn't have the time to. Although he still knew the village a bit since he lived here the first 6 years of his life. He looked at the note with the directions to his apartment Gigi had given him. He went to his apartment and lay down on his bed and took a nap. Not again. It's only 1700 hours. Kyuubi sighed. Why must he always take naps whenever he got the time for it? It's much more fun when he's awake. The next day, in the classroom, no one knew that 3 Jonin teachers were spying on them. Kakashi, Asuma, and Kurenai. They want to know who their students would be. And the other reason was that they were bored. No one saw them, of course. They wouldn't be ninja if they couldn't even hide themselves. Irika. Okay, class, before we start the exams, I have something to announce to you all. Everyone looked surprised. What would there be to announce anyway? They normally start the exams immediately. We have a new student with us today. His name is Uzumaki Naruto, and he'll be joining you guys in the exams. They all look surprised. The 3 senseis outside as well. Let's see. The only information I have from him is his name and that he left the village at age 6 to train by himself. He arrived just a few days ago to take the exams and become a ninja. That's all there is. He'll be here in a few minutes. They were all stunned by this information. But Sensei, how can you train by yourself at the age of 6 and then do the exams without even ever being to school before? Ino said, well, I don't know, but this is a letter from the Hokage personally, so it should be just fine. Irika said, from the Hokage personally. They all said / screamed / mumbled. The senseis outside were stunned as well. Kurenai, that's pretty amazing. The other 2 stared into the classroom with big eyes. Just when they were all stunned and confused, they heard a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. And the door opened. They all snapped out of their confusion and looked at Naruto. They thought that what they had just heard was confusing, but he was even more confusing. He looked so mysterious. Online image galleries. Welcome, Naruto. If you want to go and stand in the line there, then we can start. Irika said friendly. Naruto just nodded and walked over to the others. He's a mysterious one. I wonder what's behind that mask. It looks like it doesn't even have eye holes. Nah, I must have seen it wrong. Still strange, though. His aura is really mysterious and complicated. Like he got a big secret or something. And what's with those white scar symbols on his clothes? Kakashi mumbled. The other 2 gave him a look that said, right? And that says the masked man with more secrets than anyone. Crying face, although they did agree with him. The exam started and everything went just fine. It was almost Naruto's turn when Kyuubi started talking to him. So kid, what are you going to do? You could get really high scores, you know. You're already at the level of a Jonin Nin, maybe even higher. Your normal abilities are Chunin and Jonin, but your special ability is higher anyone else's. No one can beat you in that. Doesn't matter what they do. I know, but I think that I'm going to do a bit above normal. I don't want to stand out too much yet. Wahaha, you're funny, you know. I'm going to enjoy this. So what was your plan again? For now, being normal. Well, they'll probably find me mysterious, but that's fine. That'll maybe even make it more fun. He grinned at the fox. The plan, in short, is making them wonder what I hide and slowly showing them my powers. In the meantime, they'll think I'm lazy and you are lazy. He gave the fox an annoyed look and talked further. As I said, in the meantime, they'll think I'm lazy and maybe they'll think I'm cold-hearted. Not so sure about the last one, though. They'll think that and not someone who likes to play pranks and stuff like that. And then I'll play pranks on them while they think it's someone else. Then as time goes by, I'll reveal more and more of my power, and eventually, I'll show them my face and tell them my secret. Wahaha, you're really funny. I'm going to enjoy myself. Ha ha. But, wait, that's secret. You don't mean me, right? Of course not, idiot. The other secret. Ugh. And don't you dare to call me the great Kyuubi a idiot. Hi, I get it. Just then they heard, Uzumaki Naruto, you're up. He walked to the front of the classroom. Even if you couldn't see his face, you would still know that he is really bored. Okay, first up the jutsu, and Naruto only heard half of it when he started wondering what he should do after this. He slowly began to fall asleep. Yet people, Naruto is even worse than Shikamaru. He can sleep anywhere. The weird thing is that you never know if he's awake or sleeping. Naruto, Naruto, Iruka said and then screamed. Wow, what is it? Naruto mumbled sleepy. Naruto, we're starting. Keep your head by the exams, please. Oh, yes, sorry. I fell asleep. What did you say again? They all stared at him in surprise. How can he sleep standing? It didn't seem like he was lying, though. Geez, he's even worse than Shikamaru. And the problem is that you can't even see if he's really sleeping or not. That mask blocks his face, and he doesn't make any noise or any strange movements. Shikamaru just thought, wow, I wish I could do that. These exams are so troublesome. If I could just sleep whenever I want, that would be much less troublesome. We know what you're thinking, Shikamaru. I don't think that that's possible. It's surprising that he is able to. They all said. After Naruto was done, he walked back to the line again. But before he did, looked out of the window where the three senseis were spying. Wait a second, did he see us? Iruka didn't even notice us, so how did he? Asuma said, surprised. Seems like he knows more than that he shows. Kakashi said, looking curiously at Naruto. While those three were talking, the teams were announced. Same teams as in the anime. Seems like he's in your team, Kakashi. Asuma said, maybe we could do some sparring matches in a few days or weeks or so, with the rule to show in every match something new and different. Then we'll get to know everyone's abilities better. Kurenai said. Kakashi smiled at this and said, that's a good idea, let's do that. Then all three disappeared and the day went on. Everyone went home after the exams so that they would be ready the next day when they would meet their new senseis. Chapter 2, Up Early but Still Lazy. It was early in the morning, and you would expect that everyone was still sleeping, especially Shikamaru and Naruto, but you got that wrong. Since everyone was still sleeping except for one person. And that one person was Naruto. Readers, wait, what? Yeah, I know. Shocking, isn't it? Don't worry, I'll explain. It's true that if Naruto would start with sleeping, that it would be hard to get him to awake. That is if he ever went sleeping in the night. And since he doesn't sleep at night, he is awake early in the morning. And now you're thinking, true, I get why he is so lazy and sleepy in the daytime. But still, why doesn't he just sleep in the night? Then he doesn't have to sleep in the daytime. That's true, you're totally right. Except for one little thing I forgot to tell you. Let's go to Naruto, he'll tell you. So again, it was early in the morning and there was Naruto reading some scrolls. He didn't have his mask on, just a bandage around his eyes. No black band covering it or anything. Suddenly, he ran to the bathroom, throwing the scrolls on the bed in the process. The bandage was red of the blood, so he pulled it off his face and threw it on the ground, not bothering to pick it up or throw it away. His whole bathroom was full of bloody bandages. He never bothered to throw the bandages away. He wasn't planning to pick the bandages up either. He just didn't saw the point. It was every night the same anyway. Damn, he muttered. You okay, kid? Yeah, I'm okay. If you say so. I know that you can't sleep at night because your eyes hurt. But still, you should at least try to sleep a little bit at night. You know you won't be able to sleep at daytime on missions where you'll be away for a few days. Well, that depends on, I guess. since you can sleep while standing. But still, you can't always sleep on missions, so you'll have to learn to sleep in the night. I know you mean it good, Kyuubi, but you know that it is impossible for me to sleep at night. Even if I wanted to, my eyes just hurt too much in the night. I never know why, but my eyes hurt a lot in the night, but they don't tea or barely hurt on the day. There are days that my eyes hurt in the daytime as well, but that doesn't tea happen so often. So if you don't tea see me for a day, or maybe even a few days, then you know that I got one of those annoying days. And then I am really, really grumpy, so it don't tea bother me on those days. Well, actually, one tea know that you have one of those days unless you tell them about your eyes. Well, actually, don't tea have eyes, but it is just easier to say eyes instead of eye holes, or whatever you want to call them, dot. You don't tea have to explain things like that. Saudis. Asterisk, yeah, well, never mind. Where was I? The part that you re-eyes hurt a lot in the night and not in the daytime. Except for a few exceptions where you re-eyes hurt in the daytime as well. So on days like that you never show up, and then you really grumpy as well. So they shouldn't bother you on those days, da. Oh yeah, thanks. There's no reason why my eyes only hurt at night. It has always been like that, I don't know why. Well, in the beginning my eyes always hurt, but with a little bit of help and support from Kyuubi, I could somehow get through it. He always lends me a bit of his chakra so that I would get through it, dot. If you would just let me lend you some of my chakra at the night, you wouldn't be in so much pain, and you wouldn't have to stay awake in the night. I know that, Kyuubi. You always say that. My answer stays the same, though. I don't want to lend you re-chakra anymore. And no, it is not because of you. There is no way out of pain. You just have to face it. That is what a ninja does. It was okay when I was a kid, but the few years before I became a ninja and the years after today are different. If I want to be strong, I have to face reality and just live with it. It is fine with me, though. It is true that it is hard, and that is almost unbearable at the exception/special days. That is what I call the days where his eyes hurt in the night and on daytime. And I want to be able to do much on the special days since it hurts just too much. But that is all right. I'll get through it, and someday I'll even be able to live with the pain and still be able to do everything I want. I am just not there yet. I know you will. Keep it up, it is already starting to get morning. The pain will almost be gone, dot. He smiled and said, I know, but thanks for your support anyway, dot. While Naruto was talking with Kyuubi, he had cleaned his eyes, put a new bandage on, put the other things that are around his eyes on, put his mask on, cleaned himself up a bit, and put his other clothes on. He looked at the clock. It was only 7:50, and they had to be there at 9 o'clock. He didn't had anything else to do, so he decided to go to the academy and sleep there a bit. The pain was gone since it was morning, so he could finally sleep. He walked slowly to the academy and sat down on a chair in the back corner of the classroom. Irika looked surprised to see Naruto so early. It was true that he didn't know him so well yet. No one did. But still, he came over like a lazy person. So why would he be so early? Maybe he wasn't so lazy after all. But he changed his mind quickly when he saw Naruto sleeping in the back of the class. His sweat dropped and decided not to think about it too much. It was just too confusing. Why would you come an hour early if you decide to sleep in the class anyway? He could have just slept a bit longer at home. Irika actually expected him to be late because he overslept. He didn't expect him to be an hour early and then go back to sleep again. He was so confusing. He sighed and went back to work. It was 8:45 when the other student came in. Surprisingly, everyone was a bit early today, even Shikamaru, the lazy person. They were all a bit excited about today. They all looked surprised when they saw that Naruto was already there. They didn't expect him to be early. Same reasons as Irika-sensei. Sakura-sensei, when did Naruto come here? Irika, to be honest, I don't believe it either, but he was here already at 08:00. Everyone, Irika. And the most surprising thing is that he has been sleeping all this time. He went to sleep immediately when he got here, duh. They were all surprised at this. He could have just slept a little bit longer at home and then come to the academy. They decided to ignore it and sat down. No one got the idea that they could have just asked him. Not that he was going to answer their questions. but they didn't know that, of course. It was finally 9 o'clock, and everyone except 3 were retrieved. I don't think this is the right word. But oh well. It had been 3 hours already since the others were retrieved by their senseis. Sasuke and Sakura were starting to get more annoyed by the minute. Naruto, on the other hand, hadn't moved on bit since they arrived at the academy at 8:45. Iruka-sensei said that he was still on the same position as when he arrived here. And that was at 8 o'clock, and now it was 12 o'clock already. They just didn't understand how he could sleep like that for so long without moving an inch. And finally, after a long moment of waiting, their sensei finally arrived. He expected a few weapons and other stuff to be flying at him. It was like that every year. He had his eyes closed when he dodged everything easily. He heard some HMPFS and some relate at the background. That was normal too. Then he said without opening his eyes, "My first expression on you guys is, I hate all of you." I believe he said something like that in the anime. Then he opened his eyes and saw 2 angry-looking students looking at him. He raised his eyebrow when he didn't saw the 3rd student. Then he saw him sleeping in the back of the class. Before he could say anything, Sakura said, "Na-sensei, I think he is dead. He hasn't moved since 08:00. Kakashi, 08:00? That is a bit early, . Sakura, yeah, he was even earlier than us. Iruka said that he was sleeping in this position since 8 o'clock. That's 4 hours ago. Kakashi was surprised at this. Why would he come so early and then sleep for so long without moving? But instead he said, "Nah, he isn't dead. Let us wake him up and go to the small bridge." The RLL talked further, but just when he wanted to walk over to the boy to wake him up, the boy stood suddenly up and said, "Okay, see you guys there." Then he disappeared into a black hole. Dictionaries and encyclopedias. They all looked surprised at the spot where Naruto had just been a few seconds ago. They all thought the same questions, not really knowing what they didn't get anymore. How did he? When did he? Why was he? How? But I don't this isn't asterisk, never mind. Then Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke, and Sasuke and Sakura started walking to the bridge. At the bridge. They had all arrived at the bridge. Sasuke and Sakura were sitting down, Kakashi was standing in front of them, and Naruto was standing against a tree. They weren't really sure if he was sleeping or not. Kakashi asked them to introduce themselves. First Kakashi, second Sakura, third Sasuke, and fourth Naruto. I'm not going to write the introductions of the first 3 since you saw that on the anime already. So I'm going to skip to Naruto immediately. You returned, Kakashi said to Naruto, although he already knew everyone's names because of the spying he and the other 2 had done the other day. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I left the village to train by myself at the age of 6 and came back a few days ago to become a ninja. That's all. Not that you didn't know that already. Sakura. True except for Kakashi-sensei. He didn't know it yet. Naruto chuckled at this and said, "Oh no, don't worry about it. Kakashi-sensei and 2 other Jounin ninja knew it already. The other 2 didn't get the hint. They just thought that the teachers had done some information gathering before they would meet their students. Kakashi, on the other hand, did get the hint. So he didn't know. Kakashi thought surprised. After the introduction, Kakashi explained everything about the ninja test and told them where they were supposed to meet the other day and on what time. After that, he told them that they were free for the rest of the day and could go home. Naruto disappeared in a black hole, and Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. Sakura begged Sasuke to have a date with her, and Sasuke just said no and ran off. Sakura sighed and went home as well. In Naruto's apartment. "Hey kid, what are you going to do today?" "Training, right?" Accent aigu et c'est accent aigu mon don accent aigu t'es énorme. Accent aigu. "Hey Brad," I said, "don't ignore me. Don't ignore me, the great Kyuubi." No answer / silence. Accent aigu c'est accent aigu mon pays accent aigu. Naruto. Blia Yuri boring. Just say what you're gonna do. I'm bored, please go do something. Talk to me. Please. Again, no answer / silence. I give up. Then Naruto finally answered in a bored and sleepy tone. Sleeping? Of course. Why not? I could have expected that. Sigh. Then Naruto let himself drop on the bed and fell asleep immediately. He didn't even eat today. I hope he'll eat a bit in the night. He does that most of the time, but sometimes he has too much pain to eat. That is why he is so skinny. Not that you can see that, though. His clothes and mask are hiding it. They'll see it when he takes off his mask. But who knows when he'll do that, Kyuubi thought. The day went on, and Naruto woke at the beginning of the night and at the end of the evening. In the beginning of the evening, it only hurts a little bit, but when it s later in the evening, the pain is almost unbearable. And it doesn't just hurt, it bleeds a lot as well. But that s becoming to get normal. He did always get grumpy because of it. So again, don't bother him at a moment like that. Naruto ate a bit and did a few other things until it got morning again. Time for the second test. Well, almost he was an hour early again. He thought while standing at the meeting place. The pain was gone again, and he decided to sleep until Kakashi-sensei was here. He was going to bother getting up when the others came. They would have to wait anyway, so why wouldn't he sleep? After that, he closed his Chapter 3, Restaurant, and an explanation. It was a week later. The test was over, and they had been training and doing D-rank missions. Naruto hadn't done anything special at the test. He just showed some normal abilities, and he of course said they had to work together, since that was the only way to win. Kakashi had told the other senseis that Naruto hadn't shown his real powers, face, or secrets yet. They were a bit disappointed in that, but they could live with it. For now, they would find out sooner or later. Evil smile. After training. Kakashi, that's it for training today. I'll be expecting you guys tonight at 6. Every one of the Rookie 9 and their senseis will be there. So be on time. Or I didn't say where. We'll be expecting you guys in the name restaurant. A restaurant big enough for everyone. So not the little ramen shop, tongue sticking out. Sakura, really? Yada. Sorry if I wrote that wrong. Sasuke, why? Bonding. And yes, you have to go. Said Kakashi with an upside-you smile. They all sweat dropped at this. Naruto chuckled at this. A perfect opportunity to play pranks on everyone without them knowing it is me. Let's start preparing. He thought and disappeared in a black hole. I could swear I heard someone chuckle just a moment ago. I must have imagined it. Kakashi thought. Sakura, hey, where's Naruto? He was just here a moment ago. Sasuke, don't know. Does it matter? Then he disappeared as soon followed by Kakashi. I guess I'll go home to then. Sakura thought. It was 6 o'clock, and everyone was sitting on a table at the restaurant. Yes, everyone. No one was late. Thanks to the people who dragged the ones with them who would normally probably be late. Or should I say, the girls dragged all the boys to the restaurant. Except for Naruto, though, they couldn't find him. But he would probably be on time, so no need to worry. They had all ordered food they liked. Well, actually, there was only ramen and dango, so some of them ordered ramen and the others ordered dango. First, everyone except for Naruto looked at Kakashi with curious eyes, hoping that he would pull down his mask. They gave a quick look at Naruto, who was leaning back in his chair. Again, everyone wondered if he was sleeping or not. But they didn't have time to wonder about that. They needed to be fully concentrated on Kakashi now. Naruto would come later. It really was just less than a second that they had looked away. But Kakashi had finished his food already. How does he do that? They all sighed and looked at Naruto, hoping that he would take off his mask. Everyone, Kakashi as well, looked at him hoping that he would start eating and show his face. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They all started to get a bit annoyed. Naruto didn't move at all. Is he sleeping or not? Naruto found this actually quite funny since he was awake for once, and everyone seemed to be waiting for him to make his move. And since he didn't do anything, everyone got impatient. He almost chuckled, but held it in just in time. Phew, almost blew it, he thought. They all gave up eventually. It seemed like he was really sleeping this time. They tried to wake him up, but that didn't work at all. Didn't matter what they did, it just didn't work. Kiba and Akamaru had tried barking at him, didn't work. Ino and Sakura had screamed at him and punched him, didn't work. He didn't even move after all those punches. No scratch or anything either. Sasuke ignored him. He didn't care at all, so why would he bother to wake him up? Shikamaru found it too troublesome, so he didn't do anything. He instead decided to do the same as Naruto and fell asleep as well. Choji was already at his third plate. Lee and Guy Sensei were wondering who was the most youthful and who was very unyouthful. They decided that it was all pretty normal, so that they all were super youthful. After that, they kept yelling, Lee, Gai Sensei, Lee, Gai Sensei, Lee, Gai Sensei, and so on and on. Tenen had been throwing weapons at Naruto at first. Didn't work at all. He still didn't move. No scratch or anything. The weapons fell just on the ground again, but decided that it didn't work and that Lee and Guy Sensei were annoying, so she began throwing the weapons at them. She laughed evilly, and Lee and Guy Sensei kept saying that she was definitely very, very UNYUTHFUL. Niji had decided all this and wished that he could go home already. He had training to do anyway. Shino didn't do anything at first, but after some begging of Kiba, he finally started helping them. He ordered his bugs to wake Naruto, and they flew over to him. They tried everything, but it didn't work. Again, Hinata sat there. She couldn't really do anything. So, she just said things like, why you seeing Didu, I it, kikakin, Didu, why you're BBS'd, everyone. Kuranai had been surprised and was just staring at what was happening. Asuma and Kakashi were surprised at first too, but were now laughing their ass off, because it was just too funny seeing them all get so frustrated. And at the same time, Naruto didn't seem to notice or care at all. What they were the most surprised about was that they couldn't even sense if he was sleeping or not. Normally, ninjas are always able to sense, like, everything, but they couldn't sense anything from Naruto. That was kinda strange. In the meantime, Naruto had been laughing his ass off in his head. It was just so funny. But he was supposed to be asleep, so he shouldn't and couldn't laugh. That's why he was together with Kyuubi, laughing his ass off in front at the cage. That way he could laugh without anyone noticing. So, you starting? Yeah. Let's begin and start the chaos. He grinned and Kyuubi grinned back. Naruto slowly faded away in his mindscape and woke up in the real world again. He didn't move though, so it just seemed like nothing had happened. His plan was this. He was going to use his special ability to do his pranks. But not just pranks, more like a big chaos everywhere. His special ability works like this. Sorry if I explain it already, I'm not sure he could create illusions without using jutsus or anything else at all. It was a combination with his lost eyes, so more like using his brain in the right way, and using his other senses as well. And Kyuubi, so no one is able to copy him, not even with a Sharingan. He can create normal illusions, like everyone can make. You just see them, nothing else. You can still use that pretty well, though. You can make them believe that something disappears, but in fact it doesn't. So if you make an illusion that all the people standing in front of him aren't there, but they in fact are like invisible. That way he walks into them, and everyone will start yelling at him because he didn't look out. He won't get it all and will start yelling back. Or you make them believe that something is there, like a fire. Everyone will try to put out the fire, and in the end, everything is wet. And again, they're wondering why they are throwing water on a normal house, which has its windows open. The people in the house will get mad and will start yelling again. And of course, a lot more. You can use it pretty well in fights too, of course. The other sort of illusion he can make is a real illusion. Okay, maybe that doesn't sound right, but don't worry, I'll explain. A real illusion. I need a new name for that. Do you guys have a good idea? Well, you should read the explanation first, I think. Tongue sticking out is something like a normal illusion, but different. You can create just like an illusion everything you want. A fire, rocks, bugs, water, weapons, and because it is still an illusion, also things like dragons, birds, monsters, cats, dogs, etc. Except this one doesn't work like an illusion. These things are real. They can do real damage and won't disappear so suddenly when you hurt them. And because it is an illusion, Naruto can let them do whatever he wants. So if he makes a dragon and lets the dragon attack someone who he is fighting with, he can let the dragon appear and disappear wherever and whenever he wants. If someone would attack the dragon, it just wouldn't work cause they can hurt the dragon however they like. But if Naruto decides that the dragon won't get hurt, then the dragon won't get hurt. The illusions he makes are like waves in the air. Like sound waves, but then a bit different. With those waves, he can make whatever he wants. He can make normal illusions and real illusions. You're probably wondering, why doesn't it hurt the dragon then? Well, it's like this. The dragon is made out of waves in the air. So it isn't a real dragon. It works the same though. The dragon can still do whatever Naruto wants him to do. He can still bite, spit fire, or do something else what a dragon normally doesn't do. But just because Naruto wanted him to, he can spit water or poison just because Naruto wanted him to. He can't get hurt or die since he isn't alive. He isn't a real animal. He isn't made of meat and blood. It's an illusion, and an illusion isn't real. The dragon was just an example, by the way. It is the same for other things. The thing you're maybe thinking is, it's something like a shadow clone, then right? But no, that's not true, since the shadow clone disappears after a while, but most of the time disappears when it gets hurt. A real illusion is made of waves and not made of chakra. So Naruto can make whatever he wants, let it do whatever he wants it to do, and make it appear and disappear whenever he wants. With the waves, he can make fire and water. And it's not like the fire doesn't burn, or you won't get wet from the water, cause he can make that with the waves too. So that means he can burn or drown you if he wants to. He can even create sound, since sound is made of waves too. Or should I say sound waves? That way he can make it look even more real. The funny thing is that you can't see the difference in the normal illusions and the real illusions. It looks the same, and they can both make a lot of sound/noise. That way you only know if it's a real or a fake illusion if you touch it. You might think that you could still see the differences because of the effects the illusions have, like the wood turning black of the fire. But what you probably forgot is that you can make an illusion of that too. That way you can only see if it's real or not by touching it. Now you're thinking, but that means he is invincible and unbeatable, right? My answer at that is no, not true, because there are things he can't do with it, and there are ways to stop him from doing it. You can't smell it. So if you know that he can't use things like fire anymore, because fire smells a lot, well, he can actually still use it. You still won't be able to see the difference in a real fire illusion or a normal fire illusion. So if he closes you in with a fire, it would still feel real if it's a real illusion. But he can also fool you by making a normal illusion and keeping you there on the same spot. So my advice would be, throw something in the fire and see if it burns. The point that you can't smell the illusions can make a difference, but not always. The other thing is that you can't taste it. It doesn't work like food since it is an illusion. So if you're starving somewhere, it won't help you or him at all. You can eat it, but it won't taste like anything, and your body won't take in like real food. It's still an illusion and not something like meat from an animal. So in the end, you would still be starving and looking at Naruto with an annoyed look. You can stop the illusions as well, but it's not easy. You just need to stop Naruto from making the illusions. That's not easy though. If you try to attack him, he would just throw a lot of weird illusions at you. You wouldn't stand a chance. But what if you could do something to knock Naruto out without touching him, or making him suffer so much that he can't concentrate on making them anymore? If you can do that, all the illusions would disappear. But how then? You're probably thinking, well, what do you think of? Putting him to sleep, the illusions will disappear, and you can attack him without him attacking you back. Now you only have to find a way to put him asleep. A special jutsu maybe? A very high or loud sound, or anything else. Oh, and don't wait until he is out of chakra, since the illusions aren't made of chakra, but out of waves in the air like I told you before. And then the last weakness he has is something that he has if you're lucky. Remember the last chapter? There's explained that his eyes hurt in the night, and that he sometimes has special days. On days like that, his eyes hurt on the day and in the night. And that could be for like a day, or maybe even a week or longer. The weakness is that he can't, sometimes a little bit, but it doesn't work that well, use his special ability when his eyes hurt. Most of the times, he disappears when he got one of those special days. But what if he suddenly got it while he was on a mission? Then he would try to ignore it and fight normal like always. Except this time, he can't use his special ability since his eyes hurt too much for it. His lost eyes, Brain and Kyuubi are the key to his special ability, so if he can't use one of those things, it won't work. Remember the weakness of letting him fall asleep? That way he can't use his brain anymore at that moment. He, of course, will try to act normal if he doesn't have a choice to fight and stay with the others. The ninja he is with on that mission, for example. But to be honest, you will definitely notice that something is wrong. He always gets really grumpy on those days. His special ability won't work, or maybe it will work a little bit, but not much, and his fighting will be different. Sometimes he is so grumpy that his killing intent is abnormally high, and he will fight much better than before, or his eyes, owls, will hurt so much that he can't fight very well, and then he will lose easily. And no, I haven't told you everything yet. What about the black holes? How does that work? Or about a special attack he has? I didn't show or tell you anything about that yet. But yes, he got some. You'll find out later. How does it work and why this and that? Where is his forehead protector? You can probably guess that. What's behind the mask? When does he show his powers to the others? Where are his pranks going to be? Well, I actually don't know that yet. XD, I was hoping you guys had some good ideas. Tongue sticking out. And there will probably come and be more questions. I think that is most of the explanation. I hope that you were reading it all and that I didn't forget anything. If you have a question or you don't get something, feel free to ask. I'll answer it in the next chapter. Did you read the little explanation at the beginning as well? No? Then read it, it's important. Tongue sticking out. On with the story. Naruto was sitting in the same position and was enjoying the chaos. But that, of course, was just the beginning of the fun. He needed chaos for the prank. The prank would start small with things falling down, illusion, or something burning, illusion, or maybe even stuff that's disappearing, illusion. No, wait, people disappearing, even better. Still an illusion, though. Not that they know. Asterisk, evil smile. Not that anyone could see it anyways. He had his mask on, so who cares? Evil smile again, asterisk. Let's start with the pranks. He thought while grinning heavily. Not that he is evil, it's just so much fun to do something like that. Smiley face. Chapter 4. Playing pranks the ninja way. Evil smile. Flashback. Naruto was sitting in the same position and was enjoying the chaos. But that, of course, was just the beginning of the fun. He needed chaos for the prank. The prank would start small with things falling down, illusion, or something burning, illusion, or maybe even stuff that's disappearing, illusion. No, wait, people disappearing, even better. Still an illusion, though. Not that they know. Asterisk, evil smile. Not that anyone could see it anyways. He had his mask on, so who cares? Evil smile again, asterisk. Let's start with the pranks. He thought while grinning evilly. Not that he is evil, it's just so much fun to do something like that. Smiley face. And start. Naruto still wasn't moving one bit. He just sat there sleeping. I am not. The others had given up on him long ago and were now doing their own things. Choji had just ordered some dango and turned around to order something to drink as well. The others weren't paying attention to him and were doing their own things. Naruto grinned behind his mask when Choji walked away to order something to drink and used his fake illusion. Remember the fake and real illusions? You don't. Read it again. Haha, just kidding, of course you remember. No one was looking, so no one noticed that the dango on Choji's plate suddenly disappeared. Well, it didn't really disappear, it just looked like it wasn't there anymore. After a few more minutes, Choji came back and put his drink down. Just when he wanted to sit down, he noticed that his dango was gone. Who ate my dango? He said, annoyed, but no one listened. After a while of shouting and no one noticing, he got annoyed and screamed and slammed his hand on his empty EM plate. The illusion disappeared, and everyone turned around and looked at him with confused looks on their faces. Online image galleries. Choji, what are you doing? Ino said while pointing at the now flat and crushed dango. They looked like mini pancakes. Everyone looked at him with confusion. Because, it is weird for Choji to get mad, but it's even stranger that Choji had crushed his untouched food. Choji didn't seem to understand either. First it disappeared, and now it was there again, completely crushed. Poor dango. Never mind, Choji said slowly and still confused. The others looked curiously at him, but didn't say anything. They guessed he could make mistakes like that as well. But still, crushing his food, getting mad. It wasn't like he got called fat or anything, because that would definitely make him mad. And he looked so surprised. After he smashed his food? Weird. Oh, well, whatever. They all thought and went on with what they were doing. Shikamaru looked at him curious and a little bit worried before he shrugged it off and went back to sleep again. It's probably nothing, he thought, and fell asleep again. Choji, still a bit confused, decided to order some more food, and everything went back to normal. Or so they thought. This would be a weird and surprising day for all of them, except for Naruto. Evil laugh. Well, that was fun, Naruto said to Kyuubi. It sure was, kid, it sure was. But not fun enough. Naruto grinned and said, Huh, did you really think this was it? It's just the beginning. It better be. So what should I do next? Difficult. Well, let's grab their attention first. With an explosion or fire or something. I got an even better plan. Let's start the plan and start torturing this town. Asterisk grinning Naruto, asterisk. Asterisk grinning Kyuubi, asterisk. Naruto created illusions again, and then there appeared little monsters everywhere in the city. They looked like mini versions of devils and were about as tall as a 3-year-old. They don't look like 3-year-olds, don't get me wrong. Tongue sticking out. They had just like the typical red devil, a weird tail and horns, and go on and on. They could use fire or water, but only a little bit. They had all sorts of colors and were just starting to create chaos all over the town. They set things on fire or threw water in everyone's faces. And while they were doing that, they let out a high-pitched child/devil-like laugh. They found everything funny and were laughing their ass off every time they got someone mad. Think of the minions, but then more evil. Tongue sticking out. Naruto made them in a way that they would disappear immediately after they took just a little bit of damage. That way they would be easily defeated. Well, sort of. Naruto found it more funny when everyone would be chasing those little devils, so he made them really fast. They were good in hiding as well, so it was difficult to catch them. If it were just a few, it would be fine, but there were thousands all around the city. How were they supposed to do that? They were probably all thinking. Everything that Naruto made, devils, fire, water, damage from the fire and water, of course, were still illusions, real illusions. So if he said they would disappear, they would disappear. That way, when they would somehow find out that he did it, he wouldn't have to pay for every store in town that had damage. He would let everyone chase the little devils the whole evening. He rather had the whole day, but it was already evening, so he would just do the evening, and let then everything disappear suddenly. It was genius. Evil smile. Back to the time just before the little devil's attack. Everything seemed to go just fine. It was quiet in town, until they heard a scream, and then another one, and then there suddenly was chaos all over the town. Things were on fire, people got water thrown on them, and little devils in all colors were terrorizing the town. Every ninja looked surprised for a second, and then all ninjas started running after the little devils. And that wasn't so easy. The group in the restaurant looked up surprised and ran outside to see what was going on and help. Just before they ran into town, they thought they would really have to wake Naruto up, but when they looked behind them, they saw that he was already gone. They assumed that he had already started catching those little devils and did the same. Or so they thought, because Naruto was actually sitting on a rooftop and was grinning widely. He, of course, made sure that no one would be able to spot him and sat there looking amused. At the same time, Kyuubi was laughing his ass off. Luckily, no one, except for Naruto, could hear him. Online image galleries. With the others. The little devils were causing a lot of trouble for everyone. It was almost impossible to catch them. Shikamaru had tried to catch them with his shadow jutsu, but that sadly didn't work. He had tried to chase them, but he realized that that was impossible for him, so he had given up on that. He tried to think of something that would work, but couldn't think of anything. He finally decided to take a nap, but instead got water thrown on his head while he was trying to sleep. He didn't get mad often, but this was just too much. No one disturbs his sleep, and then started chasing the little devils. That's actually not how he would react, but I found it funny, so did it anyway. Tongue sticking out. Ino and Sakura had tried as well, but got water in their faces instead and had gone the mad women mode. Now, they didn't look beautiful enough for Sakura anymore. And the little devils would pay for that. Choji was just chasing them until he saw one of the little devils put some food on fire. He immediately stopped and started chasing that devil instead. He had a murderous look in his eyes. The other little devil who he was chasing before looked confused for a moment and then started torturing others in the hope he could have some fun with them. In the meantime, Naruto and Kyuubi were having the time of their life. They looked at the state of the town. It looked horrible. The houses and shops were on fire, and everything was soaked with water. And then there were the little devils who were creating chaos or were being chased by ninjas and some of the villagers. It all, of course, was an illusion, so he would let it disappear later in the evening. But just not yet. Kiba, Hinata, and Shino were the only ones who were actually working in a team. Not that they had good luck. They were first chasing the little devils, but since that didn't work, they together with some other ninjas helped evacuate some of the villagers. Kakashi was one of the only ones who actually defeated some of the little devils. It surprised him that they were so easily defeated. The problem was that you couldn't catch them so easily. It's true that he defeated some of them, but there were only 10 of them or so, and there were a few thousand of them in the village. And the other ninjas didn't seem to have much luck. Sigh. This was going to be a long night. Asuma had gotten 8, and Kuranai had gotten 6 of them. That was the same with most jounin. Sasuke was having trouble chasing them, and got only 2 down. They were weak, but so fast that it was just almost impossible to catch them. Niji didn't bother chasing them cause he knew it wouldn't work, seeing all the other ninjas failing. So he instead tried to figure out what the things were and where they came from, but sadly couldn't find anything. He wasn't planning to give up yet, though. Lee and Guy-sensei were both chasing after the little devils, and not without a lot of shouting, of course. Guy-sensei got 10, just like Kakashi, and Lee got 5. They're really fast, right? Tintin was chasing them with weapons, but didn't get 1 down. You would think that you could hit the little devils if you would just throw weapons at them, but that sadly didn't work. They were too fast to get hit by a weapon, no matter how fast you threw them. And most jutsus didn't work on them either. If Naruto had wanted, he could have made his illusions invincible, so that they didn't disappear even after you hit them. The only thing was that Naruto did want them to get hit. Then they would seem more like real monsters and not like something weird and invincible. He didn't want them to realize that they weren't real monsters and that they were in fact an illusion. How do I make that stupid line? How do you guys do that? How many words do I have to write to get 1 line of words? But him talking about another line is simple when I don't want to explain it. Whatever, let's get on with the story. It was getting late in the evening and Naruto's eye holes, already started to hurt. But it will be fine for now. He was only watching, so it shouldn't be a problem. He was awake in the night anyway, so a little bit of watching should be fine. Except for one little problem. That was that his illusions don't work or don't work very well when his holes hurt. It was 2,300 hours, so everyone had been chasing the little devils for a few hours already. His illusions wouldn't be so effective anymore in a while, so he would stop the illusions and stop his prank at 2,400 hours, midnight. He had made an illusion of himself to chase after the devils. His clone was a few times almost soaked with water, but still kept himself dry somehow. The real Naruto would soon switch places with the clone. Then he would wait a little bit and eventually release the illusions. Luckily, he wouldn't have to make a fake surprised expression since he had a mask on. After that, he would just go along with the flow. And he hopefully wouldn't have to stay long. He was 200% sure he would get grumpy from the pain, so he had to get over with the last part quick. It was 23:45 when Naruto switched with his clone without anyone noticing. The clone disappeared, and Naruto went chasing the little devils a bit more. He didn't really have that much of a choice. Well, he actually did have a choice, but found it much more fun when all the little devils would suddenly disappear at 2,400 hours, since that's just weird and strange. He was sure of it, that a lot of them would try to get to know what happened. But sadly for them, they wouldn't find out. Maybe some of them will be so smart that when they would find out about his powers, that they would finally get that he was the prankster. But well, we'll see. And then finally 2,400 hours. All of a sudden, all of the little devils disappeared. But not just that, all the fire, water, and damage was suddenly gone too. Everyone stood there surprised, not knowing what to do. All of the Rookie Nine and their senseis stood there on the street and looked at each other surprised, not knowing what to do. Naruto didn't say anything, but they could all feel a grumpy aura coming from him. They snapped out it and looked at him with a raised eyebrow. Naruto, what's wrong? Sakura asked curiously and a bit worried, which Naruto replied with, just really hate the night, he said with a really annoyed tone. They all looked confused at him. What did he mean? It sounded like he was in pain or something, and his personality was definitely different, probably because he was so grumpy. But the question was, why was he so grumpy? Damn it, it's starting to hurt really bad. I need to go home now, he thought, and then said still with a grumpy tone, well, it seems like everything is fine again. I'm going home, and left. They all looked very confused at him, but stopped looking at him when they heard the Hokage speak. The third Hokage said to everyone that they could go home except for a few Jounins, Kakashi, Asuma, Kurenai, and some others. So everyone did what them was told and went home to sleep. The Hokage spoke with some of the Jounins at the Hokage Tower, but in the end they couldn't come up with what was going on. After a while, the Hokage said that they should go home and sleep. And if they would notice something or discover something, they were supposed to tell it to him immediately. Everyone nodded in understanding and went home. They were all wondering the same thing. What just happened? At the same time, Naruto was sitting in his apartment. He was grumpy, true, but that prank was just so genius. The little prank with Choji was funny too, that he just couldn't stop laughing. Kyuubi was of course laughing with him. He had changed the bandages around his eyes and was now putting a new bandage on. Maybe he would do something like that again. Maybe, he wasn't sure yet. Oh, well, you never know. He grinned and started reading some scrolls. Now, he just had to get through the night like usual. There would probably be talked about the little devils tomorrow, so he would still have some fun of his prank. The funny thing was that even the smartest one in town wouldn't be able to figure it out. Not until he would show his powers, illusions. He grinned widely, he couldn't wait. Chapter 5, the day after. It was morning and Naruto was sitting under a tree sleeping like usual. They were supposed to meet here in 1 hour so he could go sleep some more. It was still a bit difficult to sleep today though. And no, not because he had one of those special days. It was because of yesterday. The prank with the little devils was the problem. He was just so curious how everyone would react about it, and he really hoped he could hold in his laughter. But he just knew he wouldn't be able to hide that he was very happy today. Holding in his laughter should be possible. Hopefully, the prank just went so well and no one would be able to figure it out. Not until they knew he had that special power. He was still wondering when he would show them. What would happen soon, that's for sure. He didn't even notice that he wasn't sleeping at all this morning. Not that anyone could see it though. He had a mask on after all. 10 minutes later, Sakura and Sasuke arrived. They waited a while before Kakashi finally came. You would almost say that it was just a normal day, but it actually wasn't. Naruto looked at each of them without moving his head so that they wouldn't notice. Sakura was very quiet today. It seems like she's a bit tired and wondering about what happened yesterday. Sasuke and Kakashi were trying to figure out what happened yesterday as well, although they were actually trying to figure it out instead of just thinking what the hell happened yesterday, although Kakashi barely showed it. It seems like everyone in town is trying to figure out what just happened yesterday evening. Not that they'll figure it out anyway. Not until I make my move. Although, there's a big chance that a few of them are starting to wonder what I'm hiding. Not that they would think I did it. I mean, I was with them in the restaurant, so they probably won't even think about that maybe I did it. I mean, why would they? Naruto thought, grinning, and stood up. Let's start training, shall we? Or do we have a mission today? Naruto said while walking away a bit. The others blinked, surprised at this. Normally, they almost had to drag him away from the tree because he needed to train and not sleep. He sounded bored, and Kakashi could almost swear that he heard a bit of amusement in his voice. What does he know? Kakashi thought while walking to the Hokage Tower with everyone. At the Hokage Tower. The third, good that you're all here. He said to every one of the Rookie Nine. All the Genin teams and their senseis were standing in his office. You will all get the same mission. Most other ninjas are investigating as well. I want you guys to do the same. Most other ninjas are investigating out of town, so I want all of you to investigate in the town about yesterday evening. The weird creatures we saw yesterday are new to all of us, and no one knows where they came from. So if you find any information, I want you to inform it to me. I want Kakashi, Asuma, Kurenai, and Guy to stay here for a few more minutes. The rest can wait outside. Dismissed. Everyone said hi and did what they were told. The Genins waited outside the Hokage Tower, and their senseis stayed in the office. Okay, so I'm not sure if the third knows of his ability. He did know that Naruto would come back to the town, but let's just say that he doesn't know of Naruto's ability and that he doesn't know that it was Naruto who played the prank. Let's continue. As you know, the weird creatures didn't just appear out of nowhere. The problem is that no one knows who did it and how they did it. I want you guys, just like I told you before, to gather as many information as possible. But who did it and how they did it isn't my biggest worry. My biggest worry is, why did they do it? Whoever they may be. I want you all to keep an eye out for if there will be another attack. There are a lot of questions, of course. Like, why did they stop in the middle of the night? And why didn't they harm anyone or anything? I want everyone to try gather as many information as possible. Explain the third. But we know that already, right? So why tell us again? And why did you want to talk to us without the kids? Ask Kurenai. That's because I got something else to ask everyone as well, said the third with a serious expression. Everyone went quiet and listened carefully at what the third would say. The search of the weird creatures will probably be going on for a while, and I don't know if we will find answers. So I want to ask all of you one question. Will you students take the Chunin exams in a few weeks? If yes, then it will be a good idea for everyone to do some training together. My students are ready, said everyone. The third nodded and said, do you have an idea what you could do as a special training with everyone before the Chunin exams? We were actually talking about that a while ago. We thought it would be a good idea to have a little tournament before the Chunin exams start, said Asuma while smoking a cigarette. The third glared at the cigarette before he decided to ignore it and answered, I think that's a good idea. Now go back to your students before they destroy everything. And keep an eye out. You never know if the weird creatures will come back. The third said and chuckled when he saw the horrified expressions of all of them after realizing that they let their students alone. And no, not because they could be in danger, but because everything and everyone else could and probably would be in danger. And not just a little. The town could be destroyed if you would just let them alone long enough. Oh crap, they all said with horrified expressions before quickly leaving the building. Again, the third chuckled. He wondered how bad it was. Probably bad. At the time, the Genins just left the building. Kiba, man, this is boring. Now we have to wait and wait and wait until they are done. Are they done yet? Ino punched him on the head and said, we just left the building, of course they're not done yet. The two started fighting and screaming. Can you two shut up already? Niji said, annoyed, and gave them a glare when he saw that they didn't listen to him at all. In the meantime, Naruto silently disappeared. Well, he was actually just sitting on top of the Hokage building. He concentrated and listened. He could hear every little sound wave through the air. Every little sound around town and a little outside, but not much. He decided to focus on the Hokage office and listen to what they were saying. He heard everything from their conversation without anyone knowing. Most of the time, he was just sleeping or thinking, but sometimes he would listen. Just listen to the sounds in the air. Every sound in town at the same time was a bit too noisy for him. That's why he would just focus on a few things. He would listen to conversations if he wanted to, but he would most of the time just listen to the sound of little birds and other animals in the forest. He most of the time didn't listen to the conversations of people because he found it boring and, well, he quested it was rude as well. Although he didn't really care about that. A tournament, huh? Seems like fun, he thought while grinning. Back to the others. Ino and Kiba had destroyed a few things and were still fighting and screaming at each other. There were holes in the walls and a lot of other broken things. Well, everywhere. Shikamaru was looking at the clouds together with Choji while eating chips. Sakura saw here chance with Sasuke now that Ino wasn't going to bother them. And well, you probably already know, but Sasuke doesn't like it at all. She was annoying and where was Naruto? He thought while looking around. He couldn't find him though. That was weird though, cause they were supposed to wait for their senseis. Well, knowing Naruto, he was probably around somewhere, although he found it very annoying that he couldn't sense him. Oh, well, not that he cared anyway. For now, he should try to find a way to get Sakura of him, although it probably wouldn't work. He sighed in defeat, that he found embarrassing. Why could he never get away from those stupid girls? He was strong, so why was this little thing just impossible for him? The only thing he could think of now was ignore her, ignore her, ignore her. Lee had found some sake and was running around with it, trying to get away from Tintin, who was trying to stop Lee from drinking it. Lee, if you dare to drink that, I will punch the shit out of you. Get back here. No, Tintin screamed while running after him. Lee, on the other hand, had other plans. He opened the bottle and drank all the sake. He and Tintin stopped suddenly when Lee looked drunk and Tintin looked horrified. Niji noticed that Lee had gotten drunk and thought, oh great, another problem? How and where did he even get the sake? Again, walls were broken, and now there were even explosions everywhere. No idea how that happened. Sometimes they saw a bit of green in the air, what they assumed was Lee. And after a while, Tintin was laying on the ground, all tired out. To fast while drunk, Tintin said still too tired to talk. They all had to agree with her. Lee was for most of them just unstoppable. Except for a few maybe, but it didn't seem like they were going to do it. Sasuke, Shikamaru, and maybe a few others. But they didn't feel like catching him, so they just stayed where they were. And Naruto as well, but they kind of forgot about him for a moment. Hinata was watching with horror as all the walls were breaking and, well, just all the chaos everywhere. Shino was watching as well. He didn't care that much, though. He couldn't really do anything, so why bother? Just let them be. Ninjas and ANBU would have stopped them if they weren't all out of town to gather information. Not that smart, though. If there would be another attack, they would be in big trouble. Well, they're probably close by, so they would be back in an instant, so no need to worry. Back to the senseis who had just left the Hokage building. They were already horrified at the thought of what their students could do, but when they actually saw what a disaster was happening, they were even more horrified. They nodded to each other and all went to gather their own students. After 10 minutes, they had almost everyone. Sakura and Sasuke were tied up. Kakashi thought it was fun to do, so even if he didn't have to tie them up. Kiba, Ino, and Lee were tied up as well. The rest, Hinata, Shino, Shikamaru, Choji, Niji, and Tintin, were sitting next to the tied-up students. Some looked mad, others annoyed, and some a bit ashamed. Lee wasn't drunk anymore and was feeling a bit guilty. He had a big headache already. He would probably still be drunk, but Guy-sensei had knocked the alcohol out of him. Don't ask how, since I probably don't know. Their senseis gave all of them a speech about what they had done and that they were impossible to work with. They couldn't leave them alone for even a few minutes, and there would be a disaster. Then Kakashi said suddenly, by the way, has anyone seen Naruto? I couldn't find him. XD, everyone looked surprised and a bit shocked for a moment and started looking around. I don't see him, Kiba said. And then Shino said, no one knows where he is. One moment he was with us, and the other moment he was gone. Well, maybe he went home, Ino said. I don't think so. He's probably sleeping somewhere. I don't sense him, but that's probably because no one can sense him. He's good at that. It's annoying, though, Sasuke said. Everyone had to agree with him. But then where is he? Sakura said. At the same time, Naruto had woken up. It seems that I fell asleep after I listened to their conversation. Oh well, Naruto thought. He kid, you know that they have no idea where you are right now, right? Now that you say so, you're right. So, shouldn't you go to them? Blia, do I have to? I like this place. It's a nice place to sleep. Asterisk, yes, you have to. Just go already. Can't I just send an illusion of me? No, you can't. Just go already. Maybe you're going to train or whatever you're going to do. Oh yeah, I remember. You have a mission. Fine, I'm going. Stupid fox. Hey, I heard that. While everyone was looking around to find Naruto, they were shocked when Naruto suddenly appeared out of nowhere in between them. Through the black hole. There were some shouts and screams. What the? Where did you came from? Don't scare me like that. Oi, Naruto, where were you all this time? Doesn't really matter who said what. Before Naruto answered, just in sleeping on the roof of the Yon Hokage Tower. They all sweat dropped at this. He was sleeping all this time. Didn't he notice all the noise? No, of course not. I mean, he doesn't even notice it now. Doesn't he see the broken walls everywhere? He didn't and doesn't notice anything. Wait a second. We didn't notice him sleeping there at all. They sighed and gave up. Thinking about this was just too difficult, even for the smartest of all of them. No one is able to figure out how Naruto works. He like a difficult clockwork or something. Oh, well, whatever. By the way, Shikamaru, Choji, you guys should really try cloud watching or sleeping on the roof of the Hokage Tower. It's one of the best spots, said Naruto. The other two nodded while grinning and decided that they had just found a gold mine. Everyone search around town and see if you find anything. Report here in 4 hours. You don't have to go in your group, just search alone, and then we'll see you guys back here in 4 hours. Oh, and Ino, Kiba, and Lee'll have to clean this up. Oh, and we got something to announce to you all tomorrow. Well, see you then, said Kakashi before he disappeared. Soon after that, Naruto disappeared. Naruto grinned at the fact that he already knew what they were going to tell them tomorrow. 2 things to be exact. The other senseis grabbed each one of their students who had made trouble and said they had to clean everything up. They groaned and got to work. Ino, Kiba, and Lee. Kakashi didn't have to stay cause none of his students did something wrong. So he would go search in town a bit. While reading, of course. Oh right, he forgot that Sasuke and Sakura were still tied up. Oh well, whatever. They'll be fine. Smiley face. After everyone went to gather information in town or was cleaning things up too far away, so they couldn't hear them, Sasuke and Sakura were still tied up and sat there looking annoyed. Damn Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura thought and yelled. They got themselves free after a while, but still. Chapter 6. Naruto is missing. A few days had passed since Kakashi-sensei, Kurenai-sensei, Asuma-sensei, and Gai-sensei had told them about the Chunin exams and the little tournament. They had all been really excited, well in their own way. Naruto would be sleeping, Shikamaru would find it troublesome, and the rest you know. The tournament had been fun. It had helped with their training, so that was good. But there was actually another purpose for this tournament. It wasn't that important, but the 4 senseis really wanted to know it. And if you want to know what it means, then well, I'll tell you. Although I think you already know it. It is, of course, what are Naruto's secrets and his powers. They didn't find out, though. The only thing they saw when he was fighting was this. Flashback. It was Naruto's turn to fight, and his opponent was Tenten. They were all very excited about this fight because they all want to know more about Naruto. What was he going to do? Was he going to fight normal, or did he have some kind of special ability? The fight started with Tenten unrolling here scrolls with weapons in them and jumping in the air ready to throw them. The strange thing was that Naruto wasn't moving at all. He was just standing there with his hands in his pockets. What the hell was he doing? Wait a second. Is he doing what I think he is? Ino said. Is he sleeping? A few of them shouted. Just then Tenten threw her weapons at him and said/screamed, "You should stay awake when you're fighting." The weapons flew through the air and almost hit him when everything suddenly turned black. What the? Said a few people who weren't fighting. They heard strange sounds everywhere and were stunned at what they saw when the lights were on again. You could almost see the question marks above all of their heads. Kakashi-sensei and the other senseis didn't get it all and were a bit disappointed as well. Now, they still didn't know anything about Naruto. Well, nothing new at least. The weapons Tenten had thrown were laying in front of Naruto, and Tenten was laying unconscious like 20 meters away. The strangest thing was that Naruto hadn't moved an inch, and it had all happened in less than a second. It doesn't matter how quick you are, you just can't do all that in less than a second and then go back in the same position again. That's just not possible. So that would mean he really hadn't moved at all and that he had done something else. Maybe it had something to do with some kind of ability he had. But what was it? That's what they were all wondering. And then suddenly Naruto moved and walked back to stand with the rest so that the next fight could begin. Whoa, was the reaction of most of them. Tenten had just woken up and had walked back into the line to stand with the rest of them. She looked perfectly fine. Nothing serious, just a few bruises you always get while fighting. And since Naruto didn't tell them what just happened, they asked Tenten. Although, her reaction wasn't really what they had expected at all. To be honest, I have no idea what just happened, Tintin said, looking a bit defeated. No one knew what to say to this, so the fights went on and everything went back to normal. Although they sometimes still wondered about it. It was still a mystery. In flashback. So, yeah, that's what happened. At the end, they didn't find out anything about Naruto. The same with the weird creatures, by the way. They had been looking, searching, and gathering data for days and days, but they hadn't found out anything. So yeah, it hadn't been going well the last days. Although there haven't been any attacks since that night, so that a good thing, probably. A day, just a training day. All the Genins had been training together since the tournament. Just normal fighting, no special abilities or anything. So Naruto had been fighting normally too. He can do that to, tongue sticking out. It was just that he felt like using his ability instead of fighting normally that time. The darkness was just a cover so that they wouldn't see his ability. As you know, those are illusions and real illusions. The darkness was just an illusion so that they wouldn't see anything. Today was the same as the other days, except for one little thing. Normally, Naruto would be here 1 hour before everyone else except for this one time. Everyone had arrived already. Even Kakashi. Kurenai dragged him to the training ground every morning so that he would be on time. Asuma-sensei had just arrived together with the other senseis and looked around a bit and then said surprised. That's weird. Naruto isn't here yet. Some looked surprised and started looking around to see if it was true, while some others just nodded. They didn't seem to get it either. Do you think something happened? Should we go look for him? Kurenai asked, worried. Kakashi seemed to be thinking for a bit and then said, whatever happened, he'll probably be just fine. He's strong, I believe. We don't even know all of his abilities. So I don't think you need to worry. Let's say if he isn't back at the end of the day, we'll go look for him. Whatever happened, he will be just fine. They all thought about that for a moment and then agreed to wait until the end of the day. A few hours had passed and Naruto still hadn't arrived. It was around lunchtime and they were all worried but knew that Naruto was probably just fine. But that didn't mean they couldn't be worried. Early in the morning, an hour before everyone else would arrive, Naruto was walking through the forest. He wanted to walk here in peace for a bit before going to the training grounds. It was one of those special days. He hated it. His head and eyes hurt like hell. His eyes were always hurting in the night, but special days were far worse. On those days, his eyes and head were hurting on the day as well. And that always made him very grumpy. Just when he was wondering how he was going to survive this, he smelled something and heard weird sound waves. A cave. In here. He thought, surprised. He walked over to the cave and walked inside. It smelled funny, so he walked further until he finally knew what it was. It was a little fox. Without thinking, he walked over to the little fox and started rubbing the little fox behind his ears, and the little fox let him. They soon became friends. Naruto discovered that the little fox could talk and knew everything about Naruto. I don't get it. How come you can talk? Is it because of Kyuubi? Asked Naruto. That's right. Because of Kyuubi, I can talk to you in the same way as you can with Kyuubi. But I can also talk like all humans can. That can be handy, I can talk in the Kyuubi way, but I prefer talking in the human way. If I would talk to you in public in the Kyuubi way and you would talk back, it would probably be kind of awkward. Don't you think? Said the little fox. Yeah, I guess you're right. But wait in public. That doesn't really matter now, right? We're in a cave after all. Said Naruto. Hee hee. That's because Dopey is coming with you. Kyuubi said, grinning. Whoa, don't scare me like that. Wait, Dopey. Naruto said. Yeah, Dopey's my name. Said the little fox, Dopey. No one noticed that they weren't talking anymore, but that they were thinking/talking in their heads. You know what I mean? XD, talking in the Kyuubi way. Naruto. Okay, so I get that you're Dopey, but why are you coming with me? How come you know everything about me? Dopey. Explaining. I really don't like explaining. Naruto. Dopey. Fine. Kyuubi, you do it. Kyuubi, what? Why me? Dopey, just do it. Kyuubi. Fine, I'll explain. Every fox on this planet knows everything about you. Naruto. Why? Kyuubi, what do you think? I'm a fox, and I'm locked inside of you. That's why every fox can talk to you and knows everything about you. Well, every fox can talk to humans, but they just don't do it that often. Except for Dopey here, it's just that you can talk to foxes in two different ways. Dopey, H-E-Y-Y. It's not like I go and talk to random people all the time. I'm probably just going to do it much more since I'm coming with Naruto now. Oh, and I'm going with you just because I want to. Naruto, that makes sense. And Dopey, what's that for an answer? XD, and I thought you didn't like explaining. Dopey's sweat dropped and said, it's not like I don't like explaining things. It was just easier to let Kyuubi explain it. Kyuubi, H-E-Y-Y. That's not fair. Are you using me as a dummy? Dopey, don't know. Kyuubi, what's that for a kind of answer? Dopey, asterisk ignores Kyuubi asterisk the rule is that the first fox you meet will be your partner. And since I live nearby the village, it happened to be me. Naruto, asterisk ignores Kyuubi as well asterisk I get it. So that means you know about my eyes and my special ability as well. Dopey, that's right. And not only that, I also know something else. Naruto, something else? Wait, you don't mean? Dopey, that's right. I know about your little prank with the little devils, or should I say the weird creatures, since that's what the people in town call it. Naruto, wow, you really do know everything about me. Kyuubi, guys, don't ignore me. Naruto grinned and said, sorry about that, Kyuubi. Dopey, yes, sorry. I'm not. Kyuubi, I could hear that. Naruto, guys, stop fighting already. You're making my headache worse. Those special days are the worst. By the way, Dopey, did you know about the special days as well? Dopey, oh yeah, almost forgot about that. Naruto, almost forgot. Dopey, well, the thing is I can help you with that. Naruto, really? How? Kyuubi, all foxes have a special ability. It's different for each one of them. Dopey has special healing abilities. Naruto, special. Dopey, that's right, special. That's because I can't heal wounds, but what I can do is take the pain away. That means you won't have any pain during the night and day. Doesn't matter if you have a special day or not. Also, if you somehow get a big wound or wounds from something or someone, I can take the pain away. There's one problem though. Naruto, sound great, but what do you mean with that there's a problem? Dopey, it's true that I can take the pain away, but I can't take away the cause. So I can take away the pain in your wounds, but I can't take away the wounds itself. So the wounds can still be dangerous, and if you have much blood loss, you will still get tired. So the wound can still bleed, make you tired, and it can still be dangerous. Naruto, I get that, but what about the pain in my eyes in the night and day? Dopey, the pain will be gone, but all the other problems you had with it aren't gone. One of the examples is that you have made a habit because of your eyes, and I can't take that away. Naruto, habit. Dopey, that's right, habit. You never sleep in the night, right? Well, you still won't be able to because it is a habit. Naruto, so I will still be awake at night and sleep throughout the day, but not because my eyes are hurting, but because it is a habit. Dopey, that's right. Naruto grinned and said, that's great. Thanks. I don't mind not sleeping in the night. Just like you said, it is a habit, so I don't mind at all. Dopey smiled, and Naruto grinned back at him. Kyuubi, by the way, how late is it? Shouldn't you be at the training grounds right now? Naruto, I totally forgot about that. Oh shit, what should I do? Dopey sweat dropped and said, it's around lunchtime, I think. But we can't be going back just yet. We got something else left to do. Naruto, great. I'm hours late already. Oh, well, I guess it's fine. Since I'm late already, it doesn't really matter if I'm just a little bit later. So what do we have left to do? Dopey, you have to sign a contract. Naruto, oh, but that's not so bad. Kyuubi started laughing and said, that's what you think. The fox contract isn't that simple. You have to get the contract from a special place without using your special abilities. You have to prove you can survive through near-death experiences. Naruto, wait, what? I have to do something what could kill myself, and without the help of my special abilities? Dopey, that's right. But don't worry, you can do it easily. Kyuubi grinned and said, it's quite handy actually. Now you have an excuse for being late. Naruto, you gotta be kidding me. But, Okay, fine, I do it. I won't die so easily. Dopey. Well, then let's get started. You just have to walk to the end of this cave and jump into the ravine. I still wonder what a ravine is doing there, but well, whatever. Don't worry, it's not too deep. And there also are some soft plants on the bottom. You'll probably survive it, and just keep a few wounds and bruises. Then you grab the scroll and climb back up. That's all. Naruto, you got to be kidding me. Jump in a ravine? Are you crazy? And I'll probably survive? Fine, I'll do it. Woa, he agreed fast. Kyuubi whispered to himself. So the challenge began. Naruto walked to the end of the cave, what wasn't so far. He was now standing there ready to jump. Well, you can never really be ready to jump in a ravine, of course. But still, you gotta do what you gotta do. Dopey was sitting a bit further away. He didn't have to jump in the ravine, of course. And by the way, he was a fox, he wouldn't survive that. But well, anyway, Dopey had done the spell so that he, only for today, only because he has to do the challenge, wouldn't have any pain in his head and eyes, the special days and stuff. Things like wounds and stuff he would get because of this challenge would hurt. That was one of the rules. The wounds he would get from this were still supposed to hurt until the end of the day. After that, the spell/healing ability of Dopey would be allowed again. The pain of his head and eyes didn't got anything to do with the challenge, so it didn't really matter if Dopey did something about that. And then finally, may the challenge begin, said Dopey, and Naruto jumped into the ravine. I know you normally can't survive that, but it's an anime, so that doesn't really matter. Smiley face. Naruto managed to get into a good position in the air so that the fall wouldn't be so bad. He fell on the ground, what hurt quite a lot, but it was okay. No broken bones or anything. His clothes were a little bit ripped. No, not his mask. And he got bruises and cuts everywhere. It wasn't that bad, actually, but you could see some blood spots on his clothes. I believe you can see that even though his clothes are almost black. Although if someone else would look at him, they would probably be shocked. I mean, ripped clothes, blood, and wounds. Well, that went pretty well, I got to say. Naruto thought, and stood up ready to look for the scroll and climb up the ravine. He looked around and saw the scroll immediately. The scroll was pretty small, what was handy. Now, he could put it in his pocket. After he had put the scroll in his pocket, he walked over to the walls of the ravine, looking how he would climb up again. And that wasn't so easy. He scratched the back of his head awkwardly. Right? How am I going to do this? After a while of searching, he finally found a good place to climb up the ravine. After an hour or two of climbing and falling, he finally came to the top and let himself fall next to Dopey tiredly. That was so hard. Good job. You're ready to sign the contract now, said Dopey. He'll talk normal now, and not like Kyuubi talks. If he does talk like that, I'll say it. So that's what Naruto did. He signed the contract with his blood, and after that started treating his wounds. He had some bandages with him like any other ninja would have as well. Kyuubi, you guys better go back to the training grounds, or else they'll come looking for you, Naruto. Naruto, right, we better go then, right, Dopey. Dopey jumped on his shoulder and said, let's go. I'll be sitting on your shoulder from now on. Naruto, yeah, sure. But man, I'm tired. I could fall down any minute now. Damn, I want to sleep. Dopey, don't you dare to fall down now. Naruto, yeah, I know. Well, let's go then. Training ground, end of the day. They were starting to get more worried by the minute. Naruto hadn't come to the training grounds the whole day. Just when they wanted to go and tell the third and start looking for him, something happened. Choji, wait a second. Is that Naruto? Asuma-sensei. You're right. He's walking right there. I wonder what happened. Naruto came walking to them and let himself fall tiredly on the grass. They were all too surprised to talk or ask things for a few minutes. After all, it was all so strange. Naruto seemed too tired to talk for a few minutes. Also, his clothes were ripped, and the holes in his clothes were surrounded by spots of blood. Under the holes were bloody bandages. All of that was just strange. So far, Naruto hadn't had any problem with fighting and never had a scratch. Now he was really tired from fighting or something else, and not just lazy. It's true that the wounds didn't seem so serious, but still, how was that even possible? There also was another thing. There was a little fox sitting beside Naruto. Eventually, Kakashi decided to speak up. Naruto, where have you been? What happened? What's with the fox? Naruto sat up tiredly and pointed a bit annoyed at Dopey. All because I met him. You could hear the sounds coming from the most of them. Naruto and Dopey signed, and they started to explain about the day. About how he met Dopey, and that Dopey appeared to be a contract maker. Don't remember the correct word for that, sorry. Then he told them about the challenge and the other stuff about jumping in the ravine and climbing back up again. They, of course, let some things out of it, like the ability Dopey had and some of the other secrets of Naruto. First, everyone was surprised and shocked when Dopey suddenly started to talk, but after they understood he was a contract maker, they weren't so surprised anymore. But seriously, you had to jump in a ravine, said Kiba, surprised. Now I get why his clothes are ripped, Kakashi said to Asuma. Asuma, yeah, but still. He jumped down a ravine. I'm surprised he's still alive after all that. No, wait. I'm not surprised about that, actually. I'm more surprised that his wounds aren't bigger than this. Kakashi, yeah, true. In the end, everyone went home to rest. Naruto could also sleep for a few more hours before it became night. The Chunin exams were in a few days after all. Chapter 7, the first exam. It was the first day of the Chunin exams. Every year, there are 3 exams which are different every year. Not the same exams as in the anime. Except for the battles, maybe. Also, Sasuke isn't going with Orochimaru this time, since the story is different right now. It's about Naruto right now after all. This year you won't be doing anything in groups of 3. This year you're doing everything by yourself. So you're all on your own, and you won't have to worry failing if one of your teammates fails. Because you're not teammates in this exam. But that doesn't mean you can't work together. Not sure if you'll have a chance though. The first exam. Instructor, welcome to the first exam. Behind me is a deadly forest that all of you will have to cross. You will get a scroll from me, and then you'll go one by one through the forest. You are, of course, not allowed to damage the scroll. A little bit of damage doesn't really matter. Just make sure not to damage it too much or you fail. Online image galleries. Sasuke, where are we supposed to bring the scroll? Instructor, you'll recognize it when you get there. It is just behind a big bridge. I'm not so sure how long the forest is though, but I do know that it'll take an hour, maybe a little bit less to get to the end, if you can even cross the finish line. Someone from another village. Wait, what do you mean if you can cross the finish line? Instructor, what do you think? It's not called a deadly forest for nothing. There are a lot of dangers in that forest. At least half of you will fail at this test. If you fail, you're probably dead. Some of them gulped, and the instructor continued. There aren't that much of all of you, so we'll probably manage it in one day. You will be ranked in order. You could say that the first few are lucky and the last few are unlucky, because you're allowed to lay traps in the forest, even traps that could kill. Some of the more evil ninjas grinned, and the instructor continued. You will get 1 hour to get to the end. If you're not there by then, you failed the first exam. At the beginning and at the end of the forest, there will every time be someone who yells who failed and who is going to start. As I said, if you fail to come within the hour, you're probably dead, since you'll probably be able to do in about 45 minutes. Gaara, if you or someone else finishes early, will the next person start early as well? Instructor, that's right. Well, I'll be announcing the order then. The most of the Leaf and Sannin were a bit at the beginning or at the middle, except for one. Naruto was last. Oh no, Naruto is last. I hope he'll be okay. A few of the Leaf Nin thought. The instructor had also told them that it was okay to bring your dog, fox, or another animal with you in the forest. They had also been told that their senseis were waiting for them at the finish line. Now they had to wait until it was their turn. A lot of time had passed already, and Naruto and Dopey were the only ones left waiting at the start of the forest. A lot of people had failed, but the ones who failed weren't from the Leaf or Santa course. All of them had passed the exam and were waiting at the finish line. The shortest time someone managed to do was 25 minutes, Gaara, and that was pretty impressive. The others had done it in about 35 minutes to 50 minutes. You could say that all the weak ones were gone already, and that the strong ones were left behind. They did have a lot of damage, though. Most of them had some wounds everywhere, except for Gaara, of course. The wounds weren't very serious, though. It was dark already, and it was finally Naruto's turn. Kakashi, It seems like it's Naruto's turn now. Shikomo, he's a bit unlucky that it's getting darker and darker. But on the other hand, it's Naruto, so he should be fine. The rest agreed and waited until Naruto would arrive. Back to Naruto. Dopey, seems like it's our turn now. Naruto. Dopey, wake up. Naruto. WH. Oh, it's our turn. Dopey. Yeah, let's just go already. Kyuubi. Asterisk laughs, asterisk seems like it's dark already. Well, good luck. Laughs again. Naruto. Kyuubi, stop being sarcastic, seriously. Dopey. Yeah, Kyuubi. Listen to what Naruto says. Kyuubi. HMPF, you're on his side. I thought you were mad at him. Well, whatever. Just go already. Naruto. Let's go. Dopey, let's go. Kyuubi. I just said that. Sigh. Ma, whatever. Naruto and Dopey entered the forest and started jumping from tree to tree until Naruto suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Dopey asked. There are a lot of traps here. Naruto said. Dopey, that shouldn't be a problem, right? You can dodge those easily. And by the way, you noticed that the traps were here, and that isn't meant to happen with traps. You're supposed to notice them too late. So what's wrong? Naruto grinned and said, There's nothing wrong. That's a good idea. Dopey. Naruto, I'll bind some ropes on the traps and do some other things with the traps. I'll connect all the traps with this rope and take the end of the rope with me. And then when I'm like 1 meter from the finish or so, I'll pull on the rope and everything will explode. Dopey, you're going to connect all the traps. And then when you're at the end, you'll let everything explode. It was quiet for a few seconds before Dopey said, grinning, Best idea ever. Let's do this. But, Naruto, but what? Dopey, but what about all the other dangers in the forest? They said it isn't called the deadly forest for nothing. It's also pretty dark already, you should be careful. Oh, and don't lose or damage your scroll, remember. Naruto, don't worry. It'll be just fine. I'll just defeat everything that comes in my way. The darkness won't be in the way. And no, I won't damage or lose the scroll. Dopey opened his mouth to say something when Naruto interrupted him. And no, the rope won't snap or burn. Have a little faith in me, will ya? Dopey, yeah, sorry. Let's go then. They went from trap to trap and defeated monsters in the way. They also dodged falling rocks and held their breath when there was poison in the air. After 15 minutes, they arrived at the bridge. The others saw them and waited for them to come. They were happy and a bit surprised as well. First, Naruto and Dopey didn't have a scratch. Second, they made it in 15 minutes. Third, Naruto was holding a rope which they couldn't see the end of. Fourth, they suddenly stopped and turned around. Kiba, oh, Naruto, you coming? The others screamed some things as well, but Naruto didn't listen or turn around. They looked at each other surprised. What was happening? Why wasn't he coming? The other nins and the instructors were watching confused as well. Then they suddenly looked up at Naruto, who said, Let's do this. He pulled a rope. There didn't happen anything for a few seconds, and they were all looking confused at Naruto. What was he talking about? What was he doing? Then suddenly the whole forest exploded. They all gaped at him with open mouths when he walked back feeling satisfied. The fire died down after a few seconds, and the only thing that was left was a big hole. Everyone, what the? Eeha! Naruto, what's wrong? Everyone, look behind you. Naruto looked behind him and laughed. Oh, that. Cool, right? I connected all the traps and made sure they would go off and explode when I pulled this rope. They gaped at him and he laughed again. The first exam is over now, right? He asked the instructor. Yes, it's over now. You can all go home now. Naruto walked over to the other genins and their senseis, Leaf, and waved his hand in front of a few to wake them up. Dopey helped as well by jumping on their heads one by one. After they had recovered from the shock, they went to a nearby restaurant to eat and drink something with everyone. They talked about the first exam and what they had seen. They also asked Naruto questions about how he did it and stuff like that. The senseis and a few of the other genins were still amazed at how Naruto managed to do that. They were a little bit sad though. After all, They didn't find anything new out about Naruto. Kakashi and Naruto again managed to eat and drink so quick that no one saw their faces. They talked about a lot of things the next exams included. 2 exams to go, 1 cleared. Chapter 8, Second Exam, Mystery Cards. Starts second exam. It was the start of the second exam. Everyone who had passed the first exam was standing in the hall waiting for the instructors to tell them what the second exam was going to be. Their instructors were Ibiki and Anko. "Everyone listen up," yelled Ibiki, and everyone went quiet. "The second exam is going to start. It's a while ago that we did this exam. It's not just an exam. This exam is all about mystery cards," said Ibiki. There were a few confused looks and a few who said confused. "Mystery cards? What's that?" "Anko, you will all get a random mystery card from the numbers 5 to 10. How higher your number, how more difficult it is. You can see the cards as mission cards. The card will say what you will have to do. On every mystery card stands a number, a name, and a description of your mission." Ibiki, the numbers 1 to 4 were too easy, so the one who made the cards and the one who made the missions took them out of there. "Niji, why didn't you take the numbers 1 to 4 out yourself? And who made the cards?" "Ibiki, no one knows who made the mystery cards. It will always stay a mystery. Also, no one can look at the cards before the exam. There is something strange about the cards we will probably never understand. We can take a look at the cards just for fun. So we can't take cards out of there because they are too difficult. There are cards no one has ever seen before." "Gara, which ones?" "Ibiki, the most of you will get number 5, 6, or 7 cards. If you get one of those cards, you can probably try it if you're strong enough. It can also be something that you're not good at. If so, then it's better that you forfeit. It is dangerous after all. Also, a few unlucky ones will get number 8 or 9 cards. If you get those, forfeit immediately. Those are way too dangerous. We're not forcing you to forfeit, though. Maybe you're really strong, and then maybe it's possible to do a mystery card mission on such a high level. Oh, and you're not allowed to exchange cards with each other or get a new card. Anko, you can of course die in this exam. Don't forget that. So if your mission is to difficult, forfeit immediately. We can't make you forfeit, though. So do what you think is best. Any questions?" Wait a second. What about card number 10? You didn't tell us anything about that." "Ibiki, number 10. Yeah, it would be bad if you got that one. There's only one number 10 card. No one has ever seen this card before, so who knows how dangerous it is. It's a really high-level card that you don't want to get." "Anko, but don't worry, you probably won't get that card. There, after all, is only one of it. And there are about 1,000,000 different cards, so no need to worry." "Shikamaru, where do you keep all those cards? Must be so troublesome." "Anko, that's where we got the mystery card box for. It's a magic box where you put your hand in, and you'll get a random card. You will get 3 weeks for the second exam. If you're not back after 3 weeks, you failed." Everyone understood. Everyone, Hichai. They went to the mystery box and grabbed a card one at a time. Some of them forfeited because their card was too high or it was something that they weren't good at. And then at last, it was Naruto's turn. He somehow, no one knows how he does it every time again and again, was the last one to pick a card. He grabbed a card and looked at it happily. You couldn't see it, though, because of his mask, but you could hear it in his voice. "Seems like it's like my lucky day today. Look, I got the number 10 card," said Naruto happily, and he showed the instructors his card. Everyone gaped at him. How'd he get the number 10 card? And what lucky? You mean unlucky, right? Everyone thought. Everyone tried to talk him out of it, but it was no use. He was just too damn exited. They didn't even know it was possible for him to get this exited. After an hour, they gave up and let him be. Maybe it would be possible for him. Maybe not. Everyone who didn't forfeit were brought to a magic mystery door. It was like a portal. You step in the door and show your card. Then the magic mystery door brings you to your mission. You do your mission and look for a mystery door in another color. When you find one, you can go home. If you don't succeed, you won't be able to get home. And who knows where those missions are? The rumor goes that the missions aren't even in this world and that you can walk all you want, but that you will never be able to get out of there in another way. Well, just make sure you don't fail your mission and do it in 3 weeks. Then it should be fine. Also, after 3 weeks, the portal closes, so you won't be able to get back. One after one, they went in the portal and were brought to their mission. With Kakashi and Asuma. Asuma, you heard it right? About Naruto and the number 10 card. Kakashi sighed and said, yeah, I heard it all right. That idiot. Asuma laughed a bit and said, well, even though it's a number 10 card, it's still Naruto. So he may be able to do it. We will just have to have faith in him. Kakashi, yeah, you're probably right. It will still take him the full 3 weeks, though. The mission seemed pretty hard. Asuma, something with a volcano, right? Kakashi, yeah. He is supposed to get a special treasure that is somewhere in the volcano. There wasn't much more information, but it's probably really dangerous. Asuma, wait, what kind of treasure can stay in the volcano without melting? Kakashi blinked and said, no idea. That's what I want to know. I guess we will just have to wait until he comes back. Asuma, yeah, I guess you're right about that. Back to Naruto. Naruto looked at the volcano in front of him and grinned. Dopey, you seem exited. Kyuubi grinned and said, yeah, kid, you got twinkling stars all over you. You look just like a glitter box. Dopey grinned as well and said, a glitter box in rainbow colors. Kyuubi's grin grew wider and said, don't forget the pink bows. They both started laughing their ass off for a few minutes before Dopey stared at the still exited-looking Naruto and said, maybe you're a bit too exited. Kyuubi, yeah, kid, you better be careful. There is hot lava in there after all. Maybe it'll explode or something. Dopey, yeah, a Naruto lava is bad. Kyuubi, exploding is really bad. Dopey, a level 10 card is really, really bad. Kyuubi, everything here is really, really, really bad. Dopey bad. Kyuubi bad. Dopey bad. Kyuubi bad. Dopey bad. Kyuubi bad. Naruto, stop it. Seriously, it's gonna be just fine. Don't worry about it. And I'm not a glitter box. Kyuubi started whispering to Dopey while Naruto was still talking. A glitter box in rainbow colors with pink bows on it. Dopey grinned, and they both did their best to hold their laughter in. Naruto looked annoyed at them and said, you guys can even stay here if you want. Dopey and Kyuubi, no, wait, fine, you're not a glitter box in rainbow colors with pink bows on it. But we can't stay here. Kyuubi, I'm sealed inside of you, remember? I can't go anywhere. And I was just saying it was bad. I didn't say I didn't want to go. Okay, I'm sorry, I said you were a glitter box in rainbow colors with pink bows on it. I know you're not a glitter box in rainbow colors with pink bows on it, but that was only because you were the damn exited. Dopey, yeah, I'm sorry that I said you were a glitter box in rainbow colors with pink bows on it. But just like Kyuubi said you were so excited that you seriously looked like a glitter box in rainbow colors with pink bows on it. And I'm going with you. You need me, remember. I'm not going anywhere. I'll always come with you wherever you go. Naruto, you guys are still saying it over and over again. You don't have to say the whole sentence, you know. You guys could have just said that you were sorry. Sai, you guys are weird. But oh well, never mind, I guess. If you guys are both coming then, let's go. Dopey sweat dropped and said, he's exited, really exited. Kyuubi sweat dropped as well and said, looking a bit sad. You can say that, all right. He already forgot about the glitter box thing. Dopey looked sad as well and said, all the glitter boxes will be so sad. Then both of them said, or more like screamed, glitter boxes all around the world, we're sorry. But don't worry, we will never forget how fun it would be to be a glitter box in rainbow colors with pink bows on it. Again, we're sorry. They were standing in front of the volcano, wondering if they should just climb the volcano when Dopey yelled, look, a door. Naruto, really? Great. Let me see. The door was made out of stone, and it was really, really, really heavy. After a while, they finally got it open. Well, Naruto opened it, and they got inside. It looked like a big cave where you couldn't see the end of. No, wait, more like a tunnel or something. It was probably made by humans. He wasn't 100% sure, though. It was dark inside, and they couldn't see much. But the worst thing was probably that it was so hot in there. Naruto started walking and said, well, one thing is for sure. I can't make my illusions in here. Dopey, wait, what? Why not? You will probably need it. Naruto, it's too hot in here. I can't concentrate like this. Remember that my brain is one of the things that I need for this. It will probably be and go better after a few days. The heat won't be so bad anymore by then. We'll be used to it by then. Naruto, but don't worry. Did you think illusions were the only thing I could do? Dopey, well, no. But, okay, I get that we may be okay without your illusions, but what about food and water? You can go without food for a while, but not without water. And even if you brought water or food with you in here, it would just burn. Naruto, didn't I tell you that I could do more than making illusions? I can make illusions and fight really well. But there is something else that I can do as well. I thought that you knew everything about me, Dopey. Dopey, well, just tell me already. Naruto, all right. I sometimes like making inventions. I'll gather special stuff from everywhere and nowhere and make something out of it. You may not be able to see it, but my pockets are full of special stuff. Kyuubi, it's really cool and funny. You never know what he'll take out his pocket. It's always a surprise. He was the weirdest, but at the same time the coolest stuff in there. Dopey, wow. Can I see? Naruto, that's just what I'm about to do. I'll only take out of it what I need or want. I'm not going to empty my pockets. I just got too much in it. Dopey, that's cool. So do you got anything for the food and water problem? Or are your pockets just full with food and water? I don't think that would work. Naruto, no. I got one of my latest inventions in my pockets. It's a special bracelet. Dopey, special bracelet? Kyuubi, special bracelet? Naruto, that's right. You just simply put it on, and then it was a black bracelet with nothing on it. It was just big enough to put on Naruto's wrist and Dopey's neck. Naruto put it on by both of them and continued explaining, and then you won't have to worry about eating or drinking for about 3 weeks. Perfect for this. But because of some errors, you can only use it once. And it will only last for 3 weeks. But then again, that is perfect for this, right? Dopey, amazing. Kyuubi, cool, but how the hell did you know we needed this? I mean, it's perfect for this. Just the thing we need in the right time. Oh, but I didn't know. I guess I was lucky again, said Naruto, laughing awkwardly. The other two sweat dropped, and the three of them, wait, one. Wait, what? Well, continued walking. Only Naruto walks. Dopey is on his shoulder, and Kyuubi is sealed inside of him. A full week had went by already. First, it was really hot. Most people would just burn, but after a few days, it wasn't so bad anymore. They actually liked the heat by now. They were not looking forward to the point that they would be back in the now cold village again. Naruto had a few burn spots in his clothes, and they both had a really high body temperature by now. And it didn't seem to affect them at all. If other people would touch them, they would maybe even burn their hands or something. And it would only get worse. There were 2 weeks left after all. Their bodies were getting hotter and hotter by the minute, and they didn't really seem to mind it. After they would be back in Konoha, they would be going back to their normal temperature in a much shorter time than the time it will take to get so hot. How their bodies could take that heat and get that hot had probably something to do with being a fox and having a fox inside of you. No one will ever know how, though. But well, that doesn't really matter anyway. They had encountered a lot of things in the last week. First, they saw a strange kind of animal. Wait, was it even an animal? What was it? Flashback. Dopey. Oi, Naruto, do you see that? Naruto, see what? Dopey, that there. Under that rock. What the hell is that? Naruto walked to it and looked under the rock. Dopey, it looks like a little red devil or something. Naruto and Kyuubi started yelling excitedly at the same time. Naruto, it looks just like the little devils / strange creatures, or whatever you want to call them. The ones Kyuubi and I used for the prank that day. Kyuubi nodded with his eyes closed and said, good times, good times. Naruto nodded as well. Without his eye closed, of course, doesn't have eyes, but I don't have to explain that since I already did tongue sticking out, The red little devil suddenly jumped and grabbed Dopey. Dopey, Wawa, Naruto, heal me. Naruto, WAH. Dopey, I'm coming. I'll save you. Don't worry. After that came hours of running and chasing. This devil was somehow 100 times faster than the ones Naruto made that day. But at the end, he got him anyway. This thing that wasn't so much fun was that this one wasn't an illusion, but the real deal. And of course, the fire type. He was red and lived in a volcano after all. So Naruto got his clothes burned at some spots so that he had burned holes everywhere. There was one thing that was the same about this one, though. That was his attack power. It wasn't strong at all, so it only burned his clothes a bit and not his skin. Although if it had burned his skin, then Kyuubi would have healed it, of course. And since this little devil wasn't an illusion, the fire was real, sigh. But it turned out okay in the end. Naruto got Dopey back, and the little devil was captured. It had been a bit more difficult for Naruto because he couldn't use his illusions these 3 weeks. He also didn't want to use it. It was fun to try to do it without it for once. So yeah, everything went well in the end. The only thing that was left were a few burned spots on his clothes and the little devil. Naruto, okay, what do we do with the red little devil? The other two went quiet. They had no idea. The little devil seemed to be mocking a bit while being held by Naruto. Naruto held him in front of his face and looked at him while thinking. The little devil was getting bored though, so he spit a fireball in Naruto's face and ran away as fast as he could. You could hear a high-pitched child's laughter. That is what his laugh sounds like, echoing for a few more minutes before it went quiet again. Well, almost quiet. You could still hear Naruto cursing for what seemed like hours. Damn hashtag $dollar and carrot hashtag. Little Brad, I'll get that hashtag $% and hashtag someday, I swear. Stupid hashtag $% hashtag. My own prank was better than this little hashtag $% hashtag. You will never get better than my awesome prank. You little hashtag $% and hashtag. My prank was much better. My little devils were and will always be awesome. Unlike you. You little hashtag and carrot asterisk $% hashtag. Mumble Naruto for what seemed like forever. In the meantime, the other two said things like, Dopey, almost got me, he almost got me. Scary, scary, scary. Kyuubi, calm down already, you two. He is gone, so both of you shut up. They didn't stop for another 2 hours, maybe more. Poor Kyuubi. The hashtag %, and asterisk dollar hashtag are curses, by the way. But you probably already know that. Tongue sticking out, I thought it would be funnier this way. Tongue sticking out. In flashback. So yeah, that's how Naruto got all those holes / burn spots in his clothes, and how his mask seemed to be a bit burnt. His mask is black, so you can't see it that well. But the structure isn't the way it was before anymore. If you look closely, you can see that it changed a bit. His hair was a bit black at the front, though. That looked pretty funny. Blonde hair at the back and a bit black burned hair at the front going in all directions. Dopey didn't seem to be damaged, though. After all, he didn't get burned by the fire. His fur wasn't as pretty as before, though. But they both had that from walking in the heat for so long. They got attacked by all sort of creatures that somehow were able to live in the volcano. All the things that were left in the end of all the fights were some defeated creatures and some holes in Naruto's clothes and black burned hair by Naruto, and now Dopey as well. His and Dopey's hair were now completely black and burned. They were also really happy with the bracelets. It was really a big help that they didn't need food and water. Sleeping wasn't the most comfortable thing in here with all that stone all around them, but they just sometimes slept for a few hours when they felt like it. Dopey slept on Naruto's shoulder a lot, even when Naruto was still walking. Naruto didn't really know when he slept and when he didn't. He guessed he just sometimes slept for a few hours and then didn't sleep for a long time and go on and on. You couldn't see if it was day or not. It was just dark all the time. Not that it felt like night, because it was dark. That would be bad, because if that was true, then Naruto wouldn't be able to sleep. No, even though it was dark all the time, Naruto definitely felt when it was day and when it wasn't. When he was tired and or lazy, he knew it was day, and when he couldn't sleep and didn't want to sleep, it was night. Dopey had, after all, already taken care of his pain problem. The only thing that was left was his habit of not sleeping in the night. But that didn't really matter. But anyway, this was pretty handy. This way they knew how much time had passed. He would probably have something for the time or date in his pocket, but this worked, so why bother? They continued walking through the tunnels in the volcano. What would the treasure look like? What would it be? And where would it be? What will happen next? Find out in the next chapter. Mwahaha. Chapter 9. Shocking. No mask anymore. Almost 3 weeks had passed. There was only one day left. Everyone had made it already, or failed, but let's leave that aside. Except for Naruto. He had done neither. They were still waiting and hoping for him to come back. Of course, they knew he was strong, but the volcano is dangerous. It was a level 10 card after all. But on the other hand, it's still Naruto, so there's no need to worry, right? Well, the only thing left is to wait and see. After the first week had passed, I don't know if it's passed or pasted. So sorry if I'm saying it wrong, as Naruto, Kyuubi, and Dopey had seen a lot of things. Well, sort of. It was still the same boring walls every day, sigh. It was more like a lot of things had happened. They were once again attacked by a little red devil, and after that it happened another 3 times. Naruto had been running after them every time again and again. It seemed like he was still a bit mad at the other little red devil. But he at the same time loved them because he used them in his and Kyuubi's great prank. So he just beat them every time again and then let them go. Sometimes he got bored and he would put dangerous traps everywhere and then run until he was so tired he had to sleep or sit down for a while. Dopey and Kyuubi were still trying to find out why he was making it harder for himself by setting traps everywhere. What if it was maze, or if he would have to go back for some reason? It probably wasn't, but even so, why bother when there will be no one coming anyway? When they asked him about it later, he said, well, maybe there will be someone else who gets this card sometime, even if it's a few hundred years later. Then he grinned and said, it'll only make the exam harder for him, right? That's enough reason for me. They sweat dropped and said, straight ahead. Let's go. Move it. Move it. We still have a long way to go. Run, boy, ruin. Naruto, oi, are you guys even listening? Silence. Sigh, fine, I'm going. But most of the time was just walking, running, sleeping, and maybe some other things. Maybe it seems like an easy mission, but it definitely wasn't. Most people would have died from the heat, hunger, or thirst. Food and water wasn't a problem because of the bracelet and the heat didn't kill them, but that didn't mean it wasn't a problem. Although, they were pretty used to the heat already, but still, even though they were used to it, that didn't mean that they didn't really like it or anything. It was also getting hotter and hotter by the minute because they were coming near the middle of the volcano. But that was then. Now, they have only a day left and are near the middle of the volcano. The heat is now even for them a bit too high. But even so, they had to keep going. The hours passed, and they were finally standing at the end of the tunnel. It looked just like any other ordinary volcano except for a tunnel at each side. The problem was that Naruto and the other 2 were standing at the left side, and they had to get to the right side. After all, the card said that they needed to find a treasure in the volcano, and it wasn't on this side, so it must be on the other side. And the instructor said that when you're done, you need another door, so you can come back to the real world and complete your mission. So yeah, the question was, how is he going to get to the other side? Dopey, how are we supposed to get to the other side? A rope would burn, and no, wait, everything would burn. Except for us, maybe, but still. Wait, what if we've fallen? If we do fall, and then it's your fault, Naruto. Keep that in mind. Naruto. Yeah, I know. We can't make a bridge or anything else cause it would melt. So why don't we just go around it then? We'll climb sideways, find the treasure, and climb to the top of the volcano. Then we'll run down, find the door, and finish the second exam. Seems simple to me. Dopey. That isn't simple at all. That's really dangerous. Kyuubi, this mission is dangerous. And by the way, we aren't climbing, he is. Dopey, on whose side are you? Never mind. I'll just let you guys be. Climb. Up you go. Whatever. Do whatever you want. I don't care if it could bring our lives in danger. Not at all. Naruto ignored him and had already started climbing. Dopey. Kyuubi laughed, and Naruto just continued climbing. It took him about 10 minutes to get to the other side. They had just 6 hours left before the time was up. Dopey, I don't see the treasure anywhere. And it's a dead end in here. Kyuubi, so what do we do? Leaving? Staying here? The last one isn't a good idea, though. Naruto grinned and said, neither. 'cause the treasure is right in front of us. Huh, they both said. Naruto, they're on the wall. They wrote something on it. That's the treasure. Kyuubi, you're right. There's something written there. But that's no treasure, right? Naruto walked to the writing and read it. The ones who made it this far are lucky, strong, and brave. If you came here, you probably didn't come for the treasure, but for an adventure. An adventure that most people wouldn't have done. Most people would say that it's too risky or too dangerous. But you didn't agree with them, did you? An adventure is an adventure. The more difficult it is, the more fun you'll have. Live your life the fullest and enjoy adventures. That's the treasure. It was quiet for a few seconds until Naruto said, "Now that's what I call a treasure." Dopey and Kyuubi. HHH. 5 hours and 50 minutes later. They were out the volcano and were now running for their lives because they were being chased by lava. Naruto's hair was black from the smoke and burns and had something on his back that seemed really heavy and was about as large as Naruto, maybe a bit smaller. And then there was an angry and panicked fox on his head named Dopey and a sighing fox in his stomach named Kyuubi. So how did it come to this? Why did they only have 10 minutes left for their exam? Well, you'll find out. Dopey, you idiot. Why did you have to take the so-called treasure with you? It's a GOT damn stone. Kyuubi, with words on it. Dopey, I know that, Kyuubi. Naruto, well, the mission said dash. Dopey interrupted him and said, I don't care about that goddamn mission right now. Our lives are what's important, not a goddamn mission. Kyuubi, god damn it. Dopey looked confused and Naruto just snickered. Is that the right word? I meant like holding your laugh in. Kyuubi, well, that's what you were saying every time. So I thought, I want to try that. Naruto couldn't hold in his laughter anymore and started laughing while Dopey was sending dead glares at them. Well, sort of. Dopey, but even if we do think about the exam, then there is one more problem. We have 10 minutes left, even less and less while we're talking. Naruto, enough time. Dopey looked annoyed and said, yeah, well, getting that piece of rock out of the wall with the writing on it took us 5 hours and 50 minutes. So the rock is the one who made us lose time. And the rock is the reason why the lava came up and why we are running for our lives right now. And whose idea was it to take the rock out? Oh yeah, that was you, Naruto. And by the way, this adventure was the treasure, right? Not the stone. Naruto, fine, I'm sorry. But we really did need to take the stone with us. We need proof after all. I'm not going back there without a treasure. I won't fail this. We won't fail this exam. Dopey opened his mouth to say something, but gave up. Dopey, well, fine then. Let's just finish this mission, okay? Naruto and Kyuubi grinned and said, let's go. 5 minutes left before the end of the exam. They had the lava literally behind their heels and were running for their lives right now. Dopey, we won't make it in time. We won't have enough time to open the door like this. Naruto, well then I'll just throw you to the door. You open it. We all get inside and done. Dopey, wait, what dash? There was no time to finish the sentence, cause Naruto had already thrown Dopey to the door. Bam, it. Ouk. Dopey opened the door annoyed and got in waiting for Naruto and Kyuubi to come. At the other side of the door, just before Dopey opened the door, everyone was waiting in front of the door, waiting for Naruto to come through the door. Well, they hoped he would come. There were only a few minutes left after all. Maybe it was more like waiting until the last few minutes of the exam were over. Well, that is what some of them thought. Most of them were just hoping he'd make it. Everyone was waiting for him to come. Kakashi and his team, except for Naruto, of course, Asuma and his team, Kuranai and her team, Guy and his team, the instructors, and some other random people who were interested. Kakashi, just a few minutes left. Is he going to make it? Asuma, everyone's here already. He's the only one left. I don't know. Maybe he'll surprise us again. He usually does that. Kakashi, I guess you're right. I'm sure he'll come flying in any minute. Well, Kakashi, maybe he won't come flying through the door, but, well, I guess something like that happens. Just wait and see. Just at that moment, they heard a sound. Kiba, what was that? It sounded like someone smashing against the door. Or rather something. Or maybe punch him on slash in the head and said, "Stop thinking, you idiot, or your brain will explode." Kiba rubbed his head, looking confused and annoyed. They heard a click and the door opened. Everyone closed their eyes because of the bright light. When they opened them again, there were a few things they heard and saw. The first thing they saw was the one who made the two noises before and was now walking to the middle of the room, sat down, and seemed to look rather mad and annoyed. It was Dopey. He seemed to be mumbling about something. They sadly couldn't hear him. They stopped staring at the little fox and instead started gaping at something a bit farther away. Someone who wasn't through this door yet and who was yelling something and seemed to be running. Running from... Wait, was that a volcano? And was that lava? That was Naruto. Naruto running away from lava and yelling, "Out of the way! Out of the way! Hold the door open. Don't forget to close it after I'm inside. Out of the way, E-I-E-I-E." They all screamed. Naruto? What the? After he was inside and the door was closed, they could finally take a better look at him. And what they saw surprised them. Naruto, who normally didn't even have a scratch, was now standing there rubbing the back of his head awkwardly. "Did I make it?" he said, still rubbing his head and sighing in relief when the instructor nodded. Nobody was able to talk for a while because they just couldn't believe what they saw. Naruto had holes and burn marks on his clothes, and there were a lot of other things as well. Hinata was surprisingly the first one to speak. "And Naruto-kun, why your hair is BB black?" Naruto looked up and took his hand out of his hair. "Ah, you're right. Must have been from all the smoke and fire out there," he said while looking at his black hand, not looking surprised or impressed at all. "It's cold in here," Naruto said, sounding bothered by it. "Kiba, what are you talking about, man? It's you who is steaming right now. The smoke is coming from your hair and clothes. How the heck didn't you get burned alive out there?" Naruto, maybe you're right. He looked at his feet, who were burning a hole in the floor right now. They all gasped and all had the same thought. "Are you lava yourself or something?" "Oh yeah, almost forgot. I brought the treasure with me," said Naruto. They all looked at the thing on his back. They hadn't noticed it at all. What the heck was that anyway? Naruto placed it on the ground and started reading it. "The ones who made it this far are lucky, strong, and brave. If you came here, you probably didn't come for the treasure, but for an adventure. An adventure that most people wouldn't have done. Most people would say that it's too risky or too dangerous. But you didn't agree with them, did you? An adventure is an adventure. The more difficult it is, the more fun you'll have. Live your life the fullest and enjoy adventures. That's the treasure." Naruto, "So yeah, this big stone isn't really the treasure, but I thought I'd bring it with me anyways." Dopey didn't agree with me though. "Dopey, what did you expect? We had 6 hours left, but you decided to take that piece of rock out of the center wall of the volcano. Because of that, we had almost no time left, and we had to run from the stupid lava. And why was there lava in the first place?" "Oh yeah, that was because there was a piece missing from the volcano, and it wasn't even the treasure. But well, we already talked about this, so never mind for now, I guess." They all stared at Dopey and Naruto with big eyes. They were also a bit disappointed that there was no treasure, just a stone with words on it. But at the other hand, Naruto seemed to be fine with it. He seemed to like this treasure. "Sakura, Naruto, your mask. It has cracks in it." Naruto, "This mask is done for. Well, never mind about a new one. I guess I'll just go without one then." They all stared at him, looking hopeful. Would he take his mask? Would they see his face? They hoped they would. And how lucky they were. Naruto touched his mask, and it crumbled and fell apart. At first it was dusty, so you couldn't see his face. But then the cloud of dust finally cleared, and they could see his face. They stared and stared. The form of his face was normal, the details weren't though. He had 3 whisker marks on his cheeks. But the most surprising thing were his eyes. No, wait, I'm saying that wrong. The place where his eyes are supposed to be, because there were no eyes. Instead, there was his headband. His headband was in front of his eyes. Was he blind? Or something else? Naruto sighed as they all kept staring and said, "Yes, as you can see, I'm blind." "No, wait, in fact, that isn't quite right. I wasn't blind. Actually, I just lost my eyes when I was young, and because of that, I'm blind. So yet, a matter of fact, yes, I'm blind." He started walking away, waved and said, I guess I'll go without the mask then. You already know that I'm blind anyway. I'm going home now and wash my hair a bit. It turned completely black. Asterisk mumbling, I hope I can get this stuff out of my hair. Oh no, I'll have to do Dopey's hair too. Sigh asterisk, we'll be going then. Oh, and you guys can keep the stone. I don't need it anymore. Bye. They stared at him and were wondering two things. Well, the Jounin, maybe Chunin as well, not sure, were wondering two things. The Jinin, just one thing. The Jinin, Jounin, and the rest were wondering, wait, how did he eat and drink in there? They were all also surprised by his blindness and everything else that had happened. But there was another thing they were wondering, a thing that only the Jounin were wondering. It's him, isn't it? I thought he was dead. It wasn't like they were sad that he was alive. They were actually glad that he was alive. They weren't like the people in town. The people in town don't remember him, so he won't get trouble with them. Asuma, you're kidding, right? So he wasn't dead after all. Kakashi, I guess the story back then never really made any sense. Asuma, I still can't believe it. I'm happy that he's okay and alive though. But because we all called him Naruto back then, I didn't realize it was him when we heard his name. You also didn't even consider it or think about it, because we all thought he was dead. Kakashi, yeah, me too. But yeah, I'm happy that he's alive. They both smiled, as did the other Jounin, now that they knew he was okay and still alive. They didn't want to know what had really happened, though. But how did they know him? And why did they like him so much? What happened back then? I mean, since when was he dead? Why didn't he come back? Or send a letter to not only the third, but also to them? What is the story? What happened in the past? Chapter 10. The third exam begins. It had been a week since the end of the second exam. I wonder where they left the stone. Probably somewhere underground or something. The Jounin who apparently knew Naruto when he was younger had been searching all over for him, but sadly couldn't find him. He had hid himself well. They hoped to find out what really happened, so they asked the Hokage first. But he said that it would be best to ask Naruto instead, because he didn't know everything that happened either. After a few days of searching, there was nothing else they could do but to wait until the third exam started. 7 days later, it was finally the start of the third and last exam. They sadly hadn't seen Naruto after the exam, not even once. They were hoping they could see him now at the start of the exam. But again, he wasn't there. Where the hell was he? Just before the exam started, he still wasn't there. They found a note. From who? Who do you think? Naruto, of course. Kakashi picked it up and read it out loud, so everyone could hear it. All 4 Jounin teams and their senseis and some other Jounin. To everyone. I'm sorry I suddenly disappeared after the second exam. But I just thought it would be better to stay away for a while instead of getting blown away from all of your questions. Asterisk, everyone's sweat dropped asterisk. I had some stuff to do anyway. As you see, I like inventing things. Maybe you noticed me getting weird things out of my pocket, and that my pocket seemed to be bottomless, so much fits in it. And no, don't ask, I don't know why it is bottomless either. Anyway, I will be making some new stuff while I'm away. I'm still in Konoha though. Couldn't find me? Grin suckers, asterisk. Anyway, I'll be back by the time it's my turn. And then I'll show you some things and maybe tell you some things that will answer some of your questions. And no, I don't care that the word things doesn't say much. Then after the third exam, you can come and ask questions if you want. Don't ask too many questions though, that would be too troublesome, as Shikamaru would say. You could hear it, don't say it. Troublesome. Sig butts on. Don't hit me on the head. Troublesome woman. Butts on. Shikamaru rubbed his head while muttering things about troublesome woman, while Ino just looked mad at him and ready to hit him again. They heard a from Kakashi and he continued reading. Shikamaru, Ino, done fighting? Smirk then, I'll continue. Where was I? Can't remember. Oh well, whatever, I'll see you guys later. You heard some saying? He knew that would happen. And he wrote it anyway. Some sweat drops and a few sighs could be heard and seen, and Kakashi continued reading. Oh, and Kakashi. And Asuma-sensei, please tell the girls to stop giving deadly stares at this letter. It freaks me out. Bye, Naruto. Kakashi looked up, and Asuma and Kakashi both looked around and started freaking out as well when they saw all the girls giving dead glares at the letter. Kurenai-sensei and some other Jounin included. How the heck did he know that did what happened anyway? Never mind, never mind. They looked at each other and nodded with the same thought in mind. Let's not think about how he did everything, because that's impossible. And the rest comes later. Naruto versus Sasuke. Please come forward. Sasuke was ready for the fight and was waiting for Naruto to come forward so they could fight. He really looked forward to fight Naruto. Naruto seemed really powerful, and if he could beat him, then he would be the one who was really strong. Not that he wasn't strong already, especially with his new technique. But everyone still thought that Naruto was stronger. And that annoyed him a lot, because he was obviously much, much stronger. No way that Naruto could beat Sasuke. No way that Naruto could beat him. Seriously, in no way. He would show them all. He would show them all that he was the strongest. Now, he just had to wait for that idiot to show up. And he just had to hope that Naruto wouldn't chicken out on him. Sasuke had been training with Kakashi, just like in the real anime. But in this story, he came back a day earlier. They waited another minute, and just when the time was almost up, Naruto came through a black hole and stood there waving at them happily. Ready to get your ass kicked, Sasuke? Naruto said with an evil grin on his face. It seemed that he, just like he said, hadn't bothered with buying a new mask and was standing there with his height covering his eyes with a cheeky grin under it. Oh, and don't forget the whisker marks and the blonde hair on top. Start. They heard, and they backed away from each other while taking a fighting stance. Well, actually, Sasuke took a fighting stance while Naruto just had his hands in his pockets. Naruto searched in his pockets looking for something while throwing other things out in the progress. I could swear I brought my new invention with me. Maybe this... Nope. Wrong. And he threw out a round object. Everyone looked at it while it was slowly falling to the ground. What was it? It looked weird. He said it was the wrong object. So what is he searching for then? The object fell in the middle of the arena and exploded. Boom. It was a freaking bomb. Why the hell did he have a freaking bomb in his pockets? Naruto, good old bombs. Memories, memories. I remember that I invented those things when I turned 8. I wanted to try them out, so I first thought I would use them on a little village or something, no one who would notice. I came up with a much better idea, though. There was a big river which I don't and didn't know the name of, and a big dam on the end of it. Some forest and a village was placed on the other side of the river and dam. And I thought, why not just test the bombs out on the dam? I needed more than one bomb, though. So I did, and the whole damn thing exploded. Now, there's just a little river and a big lake who everyone knows as the underwater village. I swam there a few times for fun and then continued traveling. It seems like I put the bombs in my pockets of my back, then to big pants, and totally forgot about them. Damn, how could I forget about them? I should really use them more. But now they're just in the way, so I'll just have to take them out of my pockets for now. So that's what he did. He took 2 other mini bombs out of his pockets and threw them forward again, just like he did with the other one. They again exploded and created a big crater in the middle of the arena. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, my new invention. And he continued searching again. Everyone just stared and stared and stared at him and the bombs. Even Sasuke had his mouth open and hadn't made a move while his plan was actually to attack Naruto first. He shook his head to stop staring and to close his mouth so he could attack. He ran forward ready to attack Naruto the best he could. At the moment Sasuke started running, the others shook their heads as well and continued to watch the fight. But seriously? Bombs. 8 years old. Destroying a dam. Forget about the bombs in your pockets. In the meantime, Naruto just continued searching in his pockets. Just when Sasuke wanted to hit him, Naruto yelled, "Found it," and took it out of his pocket. Or he pretended he did. He hadn't found it, actually. I forgot it. It's still at home. Oh, well, I'll show you after the fight. Now let's start the fight. Big sweat drop from everyone. Sasuke blinked, still a bit confused, and continued charging at him. He tried hitting and punching him, but Naruto dodged it all. He jumped back and said, "Not good enough for you? Well, then I'll just have to use some better tricks." The fight continued with Sasuke spitting fire. Sorry, internet doesn't work right now. And I don't feel like searching it up later. The name I mean. Something with Catan. Oh, well, the names are most of the time too much of a bother anyway. So let's forget about this one. And Naruto dodging it. Then Sasuke activated his Sharingan, moved much faster, and started charging at him with a weird blue electric move named Chidori. So Naruto decided to show his special ability too. He was planning to do that anyway. Very well. I'll use my special ability then. I was planning to do that anyway. But know that there is no chance left for you to win if I use it, said Naruto. The people in the public and most other people were looking excitedly at the show, while the Konoha Genin teams, their senseis, and some other ninjas just opened their eyes wide because they were finally going to see him fighting for real. They were finally going to see his special ability, the things with the black holes and things like that. Suddenly, everything was black for a few seconds, and then it lighted up again, showing Sasuke holding his arm while blood came out of it. He looked to be breathing heavily, but was still looking at Naruto with his Sharingan eyes. Asuma and Kakashi-sensei, just like what happened back then with Tenten. He didn't go down, though. The attack was probably not as strong as it was with the fight with Tenten, and Sasuke is obviously stronger than Tenten. A dark aura came from the corner, and they stiffened. There could be seen some weapons flying and a lot of smoke and screaming. Tenten calmed down, throwing weapons at a time, like this very unyouthful. AUW. No, wait. Don't start throwing weapons at me, too. Neji Yihiop. Said no, screamed Lee, and Neji sighed loudly in response. Just after that, Naruto said, but you know, and the ones who were fighting looked up. This blackness I'm showing everyone every time is just... It went silent for a few seconds, and then he said, an illusion. The people in the public had just an exited expression on their faces, while the people who had seen his and Tenen's fight had open eyes and mouth, and were all thinking and saying, wait, what? Naruto showed a knowing evil grin and said, let's do it, without the blackness this time then. That'll be fun, don't you think? You know what? I'll show you some fun things. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And just on that moment, all hell broke loose.